Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
It is the only way to start your day. It's 12 minutes after 6 o'clock, and good morning to you. It's still January, just in case you were wondering. Tuesday, the 30th of January. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation as we get into the second day of the week on the 30th. Good morning to you. Siti, good morning.
Morning, do.
How are you?
Fine.
Just like that.
I'm very well, actually.
Oh, actually. All right. Fantastic. Eric Lassif is away today. He's doing a thing. So he's gone to condole with some friends. So wish them all the best. Mark Bichachi is here this morning.
Privileged to be here.
All bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
As always.
As always. How have you been? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You know, we get to say Happy New Year until we
No, every person I see for the first time in the year until June, I shall say Happy New Year.
Okay.
That's the African way.
Of course. Things are going well?
Well as can be given the Kenyan climate.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
I know. Everybody accuses us of being Debbie Downers. Oh, it's so terrible. Oh, why can't you be positive about, the things that we see? Why can't we?
Well, it's very hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel when the tunnel is seemingly eternally long.
Wow. Okay. Okay. We're going to get into it this morning and quite a number of conversations to be had. So how about I tell you what's happening? We'll connect in a minute. Live streams are up. Yes. On YouTube and Facebook. We'll connect with you guys in just a bit. But let me tell you the conversations that we'll be having today. All right. The governor of Homa Bay County, Gladys Wanga, will be with us here at 7. And we'll be talking about the state of devolution in the counties and really exactly what is going on. From her perspective. She's been quiet for a minute, so let's hear from her in terms of what will be happening there. All right. All kinds of jobs have been promised from different countries: Saudi Arabia, Germany, Canada, etc., etc. The president has been on a, swapping spree of expertise from Kenya. So let's have a little bit of a conversation about that. And he's been saying, look, I've provided jobs for you guys. All you need to do is apply, get up there and get out. The PS has also told us a few things here and there about what these jobs would entail. So, the PS in the Ministry of Labour and Skills Development, streamlining Kenya's labour migration policy. Shadrach Mwadime will be here with us at 8 o'clock. All right. We continually talk about how things, they're difficult. How do you save the little shilling that you have? Linda Oyaya, who's the business development manager at CIC Asset Management, will be here. It's still January, and we'll be planning our finances for the year 2024. And so we'll have that conversation with her at 9 o'clock. All right, everybody, get on. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. We're going to take a look at weather and see what the skies have up for us today. And then we'll come back and say hello to you as you get into the Situation Room with us this morning.
The weather with
17 degrees and clear conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 16. It's clear at 15 in Nakuru with highs of 26. We'll see lows of 14. It's 12 and clear in Nyeri with highs of 26 and lows of 12. While Eldoret is mostly clear this morning. We'll see highs of 11 and lows of just that. Highs of 25, and lows of 11. We're looking into a mostly cloudy Mombasa at 26 with highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 32 in a partly cloudy Malindi, currently at 27. Kisumu this morning is clear at 20 with highs of 29, and Kakamega is clear at 16, going to highs of 29 and back down to lows of 16. Out in Kampala, the rain is coming down at 19 with highs of 28, while Dar es Salaam is clear at 26. We'll see highs of 31. All right, out into Johannesburg is clear at 16 with highs of 28, while Mogadishu this morning is cloudy at 26 with highs of 32. It's 15 and cloudy in Addis Ababa with highs of 24, and looking out into a hazy Lagos still with the Hamatan at 26 with highs of 34. Kinshasa is raining this morning at 24 with highs of 30. It's -2 and cloudy in Beijing Tuesday afternoon with highs of 2 and lows of -4. Paris is cloudy at 10 with highs of 13, and London is cloudy at 11 with highs of just that and lows of 4. Monday night is cloudy in New York. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 6 and lows of -1.
.6 Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay,
94
after 6 o'clock. Let's say hello to you guys, everybody here. Mark is here. Say hi to Mark as well. So good morning, says Francis. Good morning from a chilly Karatina. Okay. And Evans in Tabo says Habaria morning. Now append all. Okay. It's like we're mixing English and Kiswahili this morning, but all right. So King Dave says sour to Edna. Edna, what did you do today? Edna was working behind the scenes to make things happen. Desmond Oti says, good morning, Spice. Listening from Uhanya Beach. The proverb from my county, no matter how expensive a cup is, no matter how expensive a cup, it has to go under a tap to receive water. Abi? No? CT?
Mustard?
I don't know. Can't you pour water into it?
You can.
From a jug?
You can.
Okay, it's one of those. All right. Anne Gore says, good morning from the beautiful hills of Saboti and Trans Nzoia. Wakire says, Jamal, good morning to you. Suba Yusuf says, good morning. Ndu, Mark, CT, and Edna. And also Tom Japani. Okay. Wishing you a good day. Thank you very much. Jenga Kahuta says good morning as well. Listening in from Kangemi. Karibu Mark, he says. Kenneth says, good morning, Wadao. Don Sabwa is here. He says, can you imagine it's still January? Yes, it actually is. And you still have a day to go. So, hang on tight. So George Gashorid is tuned in this morning and says, happy Tuesday and have a great day. Thanks for joining us this morning. Robert Mbogo is tuning from Mombasa. Margaret Wanjo, he says, good morning to all of you from Houston, Texas. Thanks, Spice, for your insightful discussions. Thank you for joining us every morning. Good morning and keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Mr. Mwangi. Okay, so Sir George, yes, you said it's good morning. You saying Sir George comes back and says good morning to you specifically, Mark.
Well, I am humbled to be specified in those greetings.
Shari and Jerry says good morning, Spice. Tuned in, wishing you all a wonderful day from Portland in Oregon. Good morning, crew tuning from Bomet. That's where Philip Tunui is. Kevin Kaburu is also tuned in and says good morning. Quite a number of people online this morning already checking in. Wiki, we see you. Akiki and Isaac is also in the room this morning, as well as Paul Momanyi. Everybody trickling in slowly as we get into conversations for this morning. Thanks for being here, guys. We never take that for granted. Okay, we're getting into it. Our Proverbs CT's gone around the continent with EcoBank, and what have we landed on today?
We are in Zimbabwe. Now, their form of government, is called a unitary presidential republic.
The other one was semi-permanent. That was semi-pensionary.
No.
Semi-something.
One more try.
Semi-autonomous.
No, it was a unitary parliamentary semi-constitutional monarchy.
Oh, see, that's what I said.
That is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
See? Yeah. I mean, what's the word monarchy here and there got to do with anything?
Anything else?
So long as there's the word parliament,
some
form of constitution
we are
is
good
mentioned.
to go.
Surely, whether it's semi or demi, it's
we are fine.
All right. God is good
all the time. Oh, sorry.
It's a problem.
I see you're a good church girl. It comes naturally.
Just,
good Anglican. God is good, but never dance with a lion.
But never dance with a lion.
Yes. But God is still good.
It's true.
Yes.
Wouldn't Daniel beg to differ?
Well, he would.
Yes.
But Daniel and his buddies, it was once upon a time and once only thing.
Yeah.
It's never happened again. And those who tried to replicate it went to be with the ancestors rather quickly. Yes.
Via stomach of lion.
Yes.
Well, a few Maasai warriors with different headdresses would say they have conquered lions.
It's true.
Yeah.
But never been in a den with just a lion.
Yes. They weren't dancing with them, they were hunting them. There's a difference. Dancing is when you're hanging out the lion thinking that this is a big cat. And the lion knows very well it's not a big cat, it's a lion.
Indeed. Okay, so let's take a look at the headlines this morning, shall we? And then we'll go in depth into these stories today. Okay, on the front page of the Standard this morning, experts, Eurobond debt to make or break the economy. A lot? Okay, let's go that again. Eurobond debt to make or break the economy. A report released yesterday says how the country will navigate the foreign debt payment and determine development expenditure will define, among other things, the cost of living, even as the IMF says its measures are likely to cause unrest. Really? Okay, we'll look into that story in detail in a bit. The ministry power fights rage on. A power struggle between the Ministry of Education and the Teacher Service Commission is escalating, raising concerns about the future of the education sector. Okay. Horror accident leaves 11 dead and many injured. This is another one. Last week we saw a terrible one. We're seeing another one. What's going on the roads is a question. SACCOs to soon access cheaper loan facilities. All right. According to the according to the PS in the Labour Ministry, many Kenyans lack skills for jobs outside the country. That'll be interesting because he'll be with us at 8:00 today, and let's hear what that means. How do we lack the skills? And quite a number of jobs have opened up according to the executive in terms of what's available. Now, IMF walks back on debt terms and warns of unrest. That's another headline that we'll look into the stories of. And a broken system is what's on the front page of the Daily Nation. Delayed national identity cards, dehumanizing treatment in hospitals, pensioners living in penury, and kickbacks to even move a pen. A 7-month Nation investigation has revealed the rot in the people-facing sectors of public service, the humiliation with which Kenyans are treated every day, the putrid fumes of graft that waft into the high ceilings of public offices, and the deliberate creation of chaos by a criminal enterprise that has been allowed to milk, pilfer, and dehumanize desperate Kenyans.
The adjectives, that sentence. Many.
I'm bothered.
And not just in one sector.
Jeez. Okay, so obviously we'll be looking into this story. Dawn Kisumu horror crash kills 11, or rather claims 11 lives. Witnesses describe a scene from hell at Otho area in... Is it Otho or Otho?
Spell it.
O-T-H-O-O.
Otho.
Otho? Okay.
Yes, you prolong the O. Otho.
Otho.
Yes.
Okay. In Nyando, where a Mombasa-bound bus slammed into an oncoming lorry at 2:30 a.m., bodies were strewn on the ground with the impact of the crash, breaking up the two vehicles. Horrible pictures.
Which
to have
means
to see here.
Speed was involved.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Terrible. Yikes. Fugitive tycoon Divani, remember him? Extradited and charged. Divani, who was in 2013 named among the most wanted Kenyan suspects by Interpol over his alleged role in the Triton fuel theft scandal, was last week quietly extradited from Britain, charged in Nairobi court, and then freed on bond.
1 million shillings.
Imagine.
After 16 years.
Yes, and what was the amount that he was being accused of?
Where?
The value of the oil?
Allow me.
It's a couple of billions.
Yes, it's in the billions, my friend.
16 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's different billions now.
It's different billion.
Yeah.
So really, if you were to give an interest to that, if you were to put an interest, in a very small interest. 16 years down the line, it's a lot of money.
7.6 billion shillings.
Right.
7.6 billion 16 years ago, released on 1 million bond, yet he's a proven flight risk.
In fact, he flew. That's the point. Went to India, then from
He flew.
literally flew from India, went to the UK, had cases in the UK, tried to seek asylum, so
Yes.
nothing doing. Tried to say, Kenyan prisons, they're inhumane. The judge told him nothing of that sort.
Go home.
You go back.
Go home and be arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah, there, if I go back. So here he is. But how is it that it was determined that he stole this oil, fuel that was meant for KCB? Since when did KCB import oil?
Well, it can be assumed that KCB required to have oil for its
Vehicles.
operations. That's one view.
7.9 billion shillings worth of oil 16 years ago.
7.6.
That's oil for the country.
Yeah.
Chief.
So maybe it was financing
KCB
for
is
someone.
countrywide.
No, you're right. Maybe KCB the financier.
Yeah.
And so that oil
Would have been on their papers.
No, it is their security.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, they're giving you money, so until it's paid, that oil is actually theirs.
Yeah. It might have underwritten it for someone.
Yes.
Governors reject allocation of 391 billion shillings to counties. A meeting chaired by the DP Rigathi Gachagua ended in a stalemate after the governors insisted on allocation of 450. That's what we agreed. Give us 450. Don't come with these stories of 391. We are not doing. Okay, so that should be interesting.
It continues. Not it has begun. It continues.
It continues.
Yes, it does.
Mark,
Yes,
you
it
want to
does.
give us the headlines on the Business Daily?
Well, I'll start with the one on the corner because I'm intrigued. Ndindi Nyoro sells 36% stake of what he held in Kenya Power. That is 11.78 million shares, or 36% of the shares he owned. Interesting. What does it mean when a legislature, a member of the legislature who knows what it's about is selling shares? Triton, scam fugitive, comes back to Kenya, 16-year run ends. His picture has dated, I think it's still 16 years old. Kenyans ranked 7th in tobacco use in Africa. Then just one try. You remember him? The guy who disappeared somewhere on the roads of Westlands.
Then reappeared.
Busia Sugar lawsuit. He has lost his challenge in court, and exporters feel the heat as EU air freight ban fresh produce exporters in Kenya are staring at higher cost and delayed market access as retailers in the EU step up bans on air freight to cut their carbon emissions. So not much good news for our exports there. Yeah. Those are the key headlines.
All right. Look into a bit of the stories. CT, what have you got?
In the Star, top right in the corner, in teal green, free copy of the Star and my Gov.
You're not going to let that go, are you? You're not going to let it go.
Top right hand corner. Right. Then families kill, in quotes, loved ones for insurance cash.
What?
Yes, there is a facility that insurance companies afford their clients. It's called Last Rights.
Yes.
This is a story of how people insure parents, relatives, children, and then go and claim that those have died and they get the money. So the killing is on that. They don't actually kill them, but they declare that these relatives are dead.
Voila. I see.
Yeah,
And in order to claim the last rights, man
Yes.
must have passed.
Yes. That story is even told of a gentleman who pocketed from UAP 600,000 shillings, ostensibly because a number of relatives had died.
A number.
There's a ceiling. They will pay you 150, 160. Ceiling for many of them is 200. So to get 600, three relatives need to have gone to see their maker. Yes, it's how it works.
Okay, that's interesting.
Tales of young campus girls who use Air, B, and B. Okay? This is a story that is now... It's called
We should actually call them short stay accommodation.
Yes.
Because when you say Airbnb is just one company and they might feel kind of slighted because of that.
Well, the paper will have to deal with that one.
Yeah.
They're the ones who've written this.
I know. Everybody's using it. It's like You know, when you call one toothpaste.
But you see, when they say short stay accommodation, it isn't as though you can't stay there for a long time.
Of course you can.
Yeah,
It's just accommodation.
But my key issue is, why is it an issue that it is young campus girls? What do the young campus boys do?
You, my friend, have introduced now what we may refer to in polite society as a counter-argument.
Because I am honestly getting sick and tired of the way we try to portray young girls as almost worse than their peers, and then try to use Airbnb in quotes as the key facilitator of such behavior.
Misogyny never sleeps.
It doesn't.
Yes.
Sometimes it wakes up
very early
fresh.
in the morning, because we had this discussion yesterday. We had two ladies who were discussing this demonstration that we had against femicide. And we're talking about this. You see, the discussion then revolved around a paternalistic society. But you see, again, most people talk about paternalism from a Western perspective.
Yes.
A paternalistic traditional society was actually protective of its girls and women.
Yes.
Yes. It's not as though, but it's painted as though that is what gave rise to this.
It isn't.
No. Like femicide,
Yes.
where you have people who actually hate women.
Yeah.
It's new here.
It's very new. It's on Twitter, full of these young men who are pushing some kind of chauvinism and fear after hot porridge, fear women.
Yes.
That's some crazy ideas out there.
It is. And I know we're going to talk about that. We'd like to see what that story says in a bit, but other headlines, ET, and then we're going to do the traffic.
Enforce rules to stop short rental murders. There's a guy called Michael Wakienda. I'm not going to read that article.
Okay. Wow. Ensure what?
I'm not going to read it.
I want to know if the person in this, remember Rita Waiani's murder, I want to know if the owner of the Airbnb has been released from custody. We'll find that out today.
He's helping with the investigations.
Oh, wow.
Okay, theft. 7.8 billion theft happened in 2008 and 2009. He fled to UK via India. Going to go there directly, went to India first, then went to the UK. Probably the Indians told him, get out. Okay. How Kenya got oil deal suspect back to face trial. Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
The Vani story.
The Venice story.
Okay. Let's take a look at traffic, and we're going to come back and look at these stories in depth. It is 26 minutes to 7 o'clock. Kenya's biggest conversation comes back right after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It wants start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
been low nin dhinte iyo nin dheer ayuu markhaati ka dhigtaa. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, no, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi. Online, mobile, and on radio. Instagram at SpiceFM KE. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Okay, so
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
To 7 o'clock, and we continue looking at some of these stories. So the big one splashed across the front pages of The Nation today is this 7-month investigation that has taken place. Public disservice is what is being called inside well-oiled machinery of graft and incompetence. All right, let's start. It's across page 4, 5, and 6. The system is vile, crooked and debased criminal enterprise, a broken government teetering on the edge of planned anarchy. So every morning, thousands of Kenyans troop to government offices in search of services, and every morning they go back to their houses dejected, frustrated, and angry. So they're seeking government services. Seeking government services should, in a properly functioning system, be a smooth and dignified affair where public servants actually serve the public. But a 7-month Nation investigation has revealed the rot in the people-facing sectors of public service, the humiliation and dishonesty with which Kenyans are treated every day, and the systemic decay that threatens to grind government services to a halt. So, in the first series of an investigative story, they published the experience of ordinary Kenyans ensnared in the sickening grip of a spiteful, mean, and outrightly corrupt government machinery. Okay, already getting into it. So, teams of reporters shadowed men and women for months, walking with them, going into the dreadful halls of government offices, watching from a distance as they are humiliated and taken through horrible experiences, interviewing them in the thick of their anger and watching the last of their self-esteem and national pride melt away. Now, at Huduma centers, the one-stop government service outlets that are billed as game changers in service delivery, they found a broken system powered by a well-oiled corruption network. While at one of the more famous public hospitals, the team found neglected patients wasting away in dimly lit corridors and crowded wards. At Bima House, where thousands of pensioners troop every morning to beg disinterested clerks to release their retirement dues, they stumbled up on the depressing experiences of men and women who serve the country but now live in penury as fat cats line their pockets with their own money. This is a system running on the putrid flames of shame, graft, and humiliating disgrace. So, they walk into K&H, and this is where the first of the stories, and it's called K&H, where death lurks in the corridors. So, there is a lady who tells of the fact that she's been there since 6 a.m. that morning, and it's afternoon now. We were told that the fee for medical consultation was 2,800 shillings, but we couldn't afford it. And so I was told to go look for the money. We have no hospital insurance because, to be honest, we are paupers. This is according to Naomi. Her mother, a Changa brewer, had been toiling to feed the family after her father, a border operator, succumbed to injuries at the same hospital following a motorcycle accident. So here she was, having tried to raise funds from friends and relatives but came up short. At some point, she decided to take her mother back home, having failed to get the amount that was needed. She had made the decision after sitting under the trees outside the referral facility, hoping that even out there her mother would miraculously recover from her illness, but that was not to be. She put her mother in a taxi that evening. She felt, rather feared, that she was already dead and they had refused to treat her at the hospital. And then she was asked to pay a higher rate if they were to declare the real status of her mother to the taxi driver, and so she chose to do the journey home with her mother lifeless but still warm. Okay, so in response to this, Kenyatta National Hospital says, "We're only here for referrals." A Kenya National Hospital official said, "Most Kenyans do not understand that the hospital is a referral facility. We are usually very overwhelmed with cases that could be handled elsewhere. Most of the patients you see camping here day and night should learn that we prioritize referral cases sent to us from the other facilities around the country." So now this is in answer. This is in answer to the queues of people that you see.
Who was quoted as saying that?
Kenyatta National Hospital official.
Was that a robot? Because it has no feeling at all.
So this story of people lining up, whether they're going to get cancer treatment, whether they're going to get kidney dialysis, whether they're waiting to see a doctor after they've been told to come here, most times you're asked for the money. If you don't have the money, they will not see you.
That is true.
Okay. And in some cases, maybe somebody asking for, okay, let's see if we can get you on the thing. But of course, I'm going to need you to give me something to have that. So it goes through this again. This is not the first time we've heard stories of this nature from the hospital, but this is the first time that we've heard in such blatant response that all these people who are lining up here, they shouldn't be here. We are a referral hospital. You come here when you've been referred by a doctor. People just walk in here, and that cannot be the case. That's the explanation from the hospital about the long lines that you see there.
You know, whoever said that statement, first and foremost, I'm surprised they have a job today, January 30th, 2024, because they are not a servant of any cadre. They serve no one. And we need to remind them, first and foremost, people go to Kenyatta because, one, it is affordable, and two, we have promised Kenyans over and over again about universal health care. Right. So it is expected that a Kenyan will go to the hospital that they can afford. Also, Kenyatta has an emergency unit. Okay? Emergencies are not referred. When you are in an accident, who refers you?
It wouldn't be an emergency, would it?
Exactly. So how do you get an emergency referral? So if you have an accident right outside the gates of Kenyatta National Hospital, what should you do? Go die in another hospital so you're referred back there?
And you know the part of the story that I read is just the beginning, eh?
Yes.
You need to read this. Let me give you another little bit of that story, right? The women's ward, you find one of the patients by themselves. You will not see any of them until tomorrow morning, now talking about the officials of the hospital, when they come to do ward rounds and see who died in their sleep at night so that they can contact the mortuary. That's just like rounds, yeah. I've been here for the past 4 months because I'm battling cancer and I owe a lot of money to the hospital. I see death every day. No one really cares. Money comes first because quality... money comes first before quality care. This is according to Magdalene. She's a retired kindergarten teacher battling stage 4 cancer, and she's just in hospital. She further discloses the medics at KNH lose interest in patients abandoned by their families and see them as a liability. These patients, according to an employee I spoke to, is not authorized to speak to the media, making her a huge chunk of and they make for a huge chunk of unclaimed bodies when they die. Now get this. We accumulate up to 500 unclaimed bodies in a span of 4 months because patients are abandoned to die here, mostly from various complications, accident victims, miscarriages. Some are brought here after having attempted abortions that go wrong and they die. They're usually abandoned because their families cannot clear the medical bills, and so they take off and leave them here to die. It's also become a dumping ground for a lot of people who do not know what to do with their kith and kin. And it goes on and on.
You know, this isn't a new story, unfortunately. The understanding of referral hospitals is that some of the tertiary hospitals that are within easy reach of the residents of, say, a city like Nairobi, wherever it is they live, are actually functional. But we found that that is not true. There may be a health facility near you, but doesn't always function. Like if you talk about, say, around Kenyatta National Hospital, there is supposed to be Mbagathi Hospital. It was supposed to be a sub-county hospital. Where then there's a War Memorial Hospital just next door. All right, from there, where's the next hospital? You have Langata. That is not a hospital. No. It's a health facility. It's not a fully fledged hospital. You can call it a hospital if you like, but it's not really. So where else? I mean, hospitals were built at around independence and before independence in every region. You're supposed to find a hospital, say, in Westlands. A hospital in not hospitals. I'm not talking about the private ones. No, I'm talking about, and they were usually not very far away from schools or institutions of learning, other institutions, okay? But ask yourself, from the time from independence, how many new hospitals has the government actually built around the country?
Well, maybe 15. 15. Thanks to Devolution. Actually, not built. I misspeak. Upgraded. That's the right term. So the hospitals have been the same. They've been upgraded. So, for example, the county hospital in Kakamega, Kisumu, they have the facilities have been upgraded. There's been no major increase in hospitals. And the other time there was a significant change was during COVID when we put up emergency ICU units.
Right. If you look at the population of this country and the way it has grown, and if you look at where most of our people are domiciled, would you say that the health facilities in those areas meet the needs of the people who are...
Not by a long shot.
Yes, you could say the same of the education sector. Are there enough schools to meet the needs of the people who are in those areas? The answer is, again, no.
And it's not just the facilities, plus the personnel.
Yes, exactly. So when we had Nairobi Metropolitan Services, is that what it was called?
Yes.
They attempted to build very many hospitals.
Yep.
21, number if I'm not wrong.
24.
24.
Yeah.
Okay. It is the first time in a very long time that one actually saw built.
Yes.
They've been complaints, they didn't. They built them. Okay? They exist. You can go and see them.
Yeah.
Secondary discussion. Are they facilitated? Yes, some are not, but they were built. Now, if it isn't facilitated and somebody is unwell, when you're sick, do you think you have time to think about the categorization of a hospital and you say, this is a referral hospital, I'll not go there because I have to be referred? What utter nonsense.
You have to ask yourself, why are people presenting themselves to the hospital? Why do you think people are coming here? It's the same question you ask, why do people go to private schools?
Yeah.
Why? Obviously there's something missing, and that's what has brought me here. You have to ask the question, and then you have to make sure that your facilities are up to scratch. If you're not answering those questions, then I'm sorry, but you don't reserve the right to then not attend to these people.
You know how the health system is supposed to work, eh? It's like with schooling, eh? You start with an ECD, you go to primary, you go to secondary.
Yeah.
Same. Somebody has a problem, you go to a clinic near you.
Yes.
The referral system works that if that is a little too much, you're taken to the next health facility, and you keep moving until your problem is sorted out at a facility, at a health facility which has what you need to have your health care needs met. Okay? But if those don't exist, where do you think people are going to go to? The only reason you don't see Kenyatta probably bursting at the seams literally is because there are many private hospitals in many of these places that take care of people.
And you know, one of the things that we forget quite easily is that since the person who is supposed to go through the referral system has to pay at the dispensary, pay at the clinic, pay at the county hospital before they get to Kenyatta. So you ask yourself first, Kenyans only seek medical care in emergencies. Most of them, if they have a headache, they have a stomachache, they will stay at home and hope they heal naturally because healthcare is expensive. If you tell the average Kenyan to start the referral system, it means he's got 5 or 6 points at which he needs to pay so that he can move from one stage to the other. Does he have that money?
No.
Truly, no. So what do? You are already have been sick for 2 weeks. You are at the point of death. So where will you go? You will go where you bet you will get the best care because all the machines are there. That's how people end up in Kenyatta. So unless we check into the system and how affordable it is quite impossible for us to have a purely referral system.
What?
This new system that this government is talking about, the one which is supposed to replace
Universal health coverage, essentially.
that one, universal health coverage, and the system that they are hoping will speed it forward. Okay,
Shifran Shah.
yes, it is supposed to have. It's supposed to be a referral system. Okay, but I am skeptical, and the reason why I'm skeptical is because all the noise and kerfuffle we used to hear regarding Afia House, which ended up with Monica, Mafia House.
Mafia House, yeah.
Has it really gone down?
No.
Because if you were to actually itemize the budgets that we have for health, just like we did with education, and you ask, does this money actually go to it? And then the answer is no. And if it doesn't, then the healthcare needs of the citizens of this country will most definitely not be met. But we'll have some fairly rich people coming out of fairly rich and probably going richer. But the healthcare needs of the people will not have been met.
Oh, that is true. Okay, let's look at another story that you had, Mark.
But the story that I actually want to talk about, because I have grown quite sick of it, is the idea that, one, that our young ladies are promiscuous and therefore they go to Airbnbs and therefore they are being killed. I would like to state, for public interest, the problem is not short-term stay locations. And the problem is not our young girls. Because if our young girls are promiscuous, they're not promiscuous alone. Yeah, they form 50% of the population, and I suspect that they are promiscuous with the other 50% who are men like me. I also suspect that whoever is mistreating, abusing and killing our girls does not do so because there's a catalyst called an Airbnb. They do so because they are evil men. So let's stop writing stories about our girls and trying to shame them because that's what men do. Go to Jesus and say, we found this one in the act, forgetting to bring the man. I would like to bring front and center the men that are beating, the men that are killing our women, and forget putting monikers on our women and trying to make them look worse than the men that are promiscuous with them, and then two, misuse them, abuse them, and then in the papers we make it about Airbnbs and girls. It's not the problem. And by the way, by the way, this idea that if a girl is wearing a short skirt, she's an African, and therefore you as a man can do whatever you want, please go tell me which African society, especially in East Africa, where the women wear anything longer than a miniskirt. Our grandfathers had self-control. You have none. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Okay. That's the story. And clearly, I don't even think there's anything to add to that.
No.
Titi, what do you have?
Oh, the problem is that this story is, you turn every page, you're reading misery. I'm looking for something that is
for good news.
Yeah, because, man, this is misery, 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 misery. High-profile corruption cases in new prosecution chief's entry. We have a new DPP, don't we?
Yes.
It's called Renson Ngonga, okay? Now, they're saying corruption cases involving top guns in President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration, 16 county governments and 7 state parastatals are among the files the new DPP in the new DPP's do list.
Okay.
Eyes are on DPP Renson Ngonga's next course of action, with the anti-graft agency saying, that is Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, saying it believes it has sent watertight files to the state prosecutor. We've heard this before. The high-profile arrest could be in the offing should the Director of Public Prosecutions give a nod to EACC's bid to prosecute. And there are pictures here of former National and Planning CS Kuriatani, banker John Ngumi, and former Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu. Right. I will leave the story there and say that we will wait and see what the DPP will do. All right, but something a little pleasant.
Oh, yeah.
Kenyans still value marriage. 2 parents at home, says survey. Okay? Story in the Star. Despite a perceived widespread disaffection with families and marriage, a survey has found that a huge majority of Kenyans still believe in 2-parent-led homes and in traditional marriage. The survey, titled WaKenya and conducted by the Consumer Insight, shows that the perception about marriage and the 2-parent family unit is evenly spread across respondents of age groups in urban and rural areas. The finding is a reality check. Despite the increasing number of single mothers and 1-parent-led homes, in most cases the parent is the mother. The report was released in late 2023, but only made available on purchase, targeting corporate entities that want to use the outcomes of the social surveys to inform their marketing strategies. Consumer Insight says the survey was conducted through quantitative face-to-face interviews with the, sounds more like it's qualitative, then with the respondent base for more than 3,000 people participating in 4 waves between 2016 and 2023. That there are many divorces tells you that people want to get married, because you cannot have a divorce if you are not married.
Oh, okay. That's true.
And yes.
No, it sounds logical.
Yeah, I mean,
But also, we are not told of the process of remarrying.
after divorce.
Yes, that is also another fact. Okay?
Puff.
And also, alongside that fact, I'm sure they covered it, it's just a short story, they must have covered it. The fact that people are single doesn't mean they remain single all their lives.
This is true.
Okay? So, you're talking about something that captures a certain season and a certain perspective that people have, but it doesn't tell us the entire story. And it actually can't.
It can't.
Yes.
Do we have a minute?
Yes.
Yes.
Eurobond, that to make or break the economy. Now, this is important because we need to remember Eurobond is 2 billion US dollars. Multiply that by 1.66
300 billion shillings
plus. That is set to exit this economy if we make good. And if we make good and we lose, it's actually around 416 billion in one day, how tight will cash flows be? So that's one side, if we make good. If we fail to make good and we need to be restructured and adjusted by the IMF, then we will still have tough times.
Tougher
times. This, my dear friends, is going to be a year where I am going to be a prophet. Kenya is between a rock and a hard place.
You said this, yeah.
And in between there is you, me, and everyone else. My friend, the hard times are doing press-ups waiting for us in a few months.
City said that he's waking up this morning trying to be positive. Now you're coming to now ring.
No, that story is positive. No, it is.
It is.
No, I'm not being facetious. It's a positive story. It's a positive story because it speaks of reality. Anything that is real, anything that represents the truth may be unpleasant, but it is not a bad thing.
Where?
And we need to prepare as a country. We do.
Actually need to get the boots up because it doesn't look like it's going to get any prettier.
No,
While that's all happening, governors have said 450 billion is what we agreed on.
Yeah.
You want to give us 391? Thank you, Bona VP, but we're not, DP, we're not accepting this. They have decided that if it's a stalemate, let it be a stalemate. They rejected the 391 billion from the National Treasury that was proposed for allocation to counties as shareable revenue in the financial year 2024-2025. The IBEC meeting that was chaired by the Deputy President, as normally is, reached a stalemate after the Council of Governors demanded that the counties be allocated the 450 billion as was previously set aside. You don't do that, even at 391, we're not taking it. So it'll be interesting to see what IBEC comes up with after that. But right now it seems that there is a stalemate, but the counties will need that money to keep it moving. 7 o'clock, the governor for Homa Bay County will be in the hot seat, and we'll find out a little bit more about that as we look at devolution in depth. Gladys Wanga joins us at 7. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. It's 7 o'clock.
News. I'm Dennis Oseto. The Pentecostal Assembly of God Kenya has called on the judiciary in the country not to lower its guard and allow itself to be politically influenced and deprive Kenyans of their rights, while the government is required to respect the independence of all constitutional departments. Speaking at the church's annual meeting in Kakamega, the Secretary General of the church in the country, Richard Oboge, has asked the judiciary not to be influenced by politicians. He also asked the government to respect the court's orders, insisting that it will oppose any LGBTQ agenda.
Koti zetu za Kenya kama zinaweza wafanye na wakae katika justice, wasikuwe politically influenced, na nasi serikali yetu tima to make sure we have justice in the nation na obey all court orders. We do not accept LGBTQ. Sisi hatuko na hiyo, hata ikipitishwa sheria sisi hatuko kwa hiyo LGBTQ. Wamama mnakubali vijana wawane? Mnakubali wazee waoe wazee na wasichana waoe wasichana? Sisi kama kanisa tumekataa, hata ikiwa sheria tumekataa as a church, kwamba hiyo is immoral before God.
The church has equally opposed the decision to tax charges proposed by the government, claiming that Christians are already paying taxes to the government.
There is somebody somewhere anasukuma kwamba kanisa lianze kulipa ushuru. Narudia kama General Secretary, chunga imani yako ndugu. Hiyo jambo unafanya kwamba kanisa litoe ushuru, bado wa Kristo tunatoa ushuru. Si ni kweli? We are churches are paying tax. Usiende kutafuta paka sadaka uone kwamba sadaka imetolewa ushuru. Sadaka is a sacrifice and not a revenue. Watu wanatoa hapa na sida zao, wanaleta kwa matibau masida zao. Si ni kweli? Ukianza kuitisha sacrifice tutoe ushuru, then that means umeanza kwenda kuvuka mipaka.
Bomet East MP Peter Salasia has now put aside his differences with Malaha Isongo Ward MCA Peter Walunya, who he allegedly slapped. Speaking at the MCA's ward, Salasia blamed Governor Fernandez Baraza for his misunderstanding with the MCA.
Akasema hii KMTC hapo Shianda, nataka nimeshaweka pale 50 million ambayo itakuwa one of the biggest KMTC in entire Kakamega County, hata Western mzima. So tukasema hiyo KMTC tukitaka ikue kubwa, tunataka tukue na the school of nursing. Sasa kwa hii school of nursing ndio tukupata hiyo paka lazima tukue na level 4 hospital. So hiyo ndio vita ambayo nimekuwa na mheshimiwa Fernandez Baraza. So kwa sababu ya hiyo
In addition, he said that they will cooperate with the MCA and others to work together to meet the expectations of the residents.
Sasa mheshimiwa Lunya, usikuwe na wasiwasi yoyote. Wewe ni rafiki yangu. Na mimi nataka niambie mheshimiwa Lunya, rafiki yangu, mimi naweza, kwa sababu kazi ambayo nimefanya katika hii constituency ya Mbiasi constituency, naweza ambia watu wa Laisongo wote, huyu Walunya ni kijana mzuri, mshike mkono afanye kazi na mbele. Sasa mheshimiwa, tutazidi kufanya kazi na wewe, si ndio? Sasa mambo mengine hakuna tension yoyote, tutaelewana alafu tutaongea. At all in all tutatengeneza mkutano ya kutengeneza maneno hapa, yeye atazidi kuwa kiongozi, si sawa? Na mimi nataka tushikane kwa sababu yeye ni mtu ambaye ako development oriented. Mambo mengine hao watu wenye wanataka kutumia hao hata wampendi, mimi ndio napenda yeye na mimi ndio nitashika yeye mkono.
Now, all road users have been urged to be careful while on the roads in order to reduce accidents. Nyando Police Commander Gresto was speaking in Nyando following the road accident in Otho, further urging drivers to ensure that their vehicles are roadworthy before embarking on any journey. She has also asked the PSV operators to ensure that every vehicle has a co-driver.
All other road users across our region are to be quite careful and not to drive when they are over fatigued or even when they feel like they are a bit sleepy, because in the night hours the causes of these accidents is the drowsiness and the fatigue. Let the companies which are required to have their drivers drive, give them enough time to rest, and also to have some quad drivers drive along with them so that they can exchange in the hours of darkness to save lives.
The accident left 11 people dead while others are receiving treatment at the Jaramogi Ginga Dinga Referral Hospital in Kisumu. Some of those who survived the accident give their account.
Tulikuwa tunatoka Jinja na gala Super Metro. Hapo njiani sijui ni sehemu gani maana somo mwenyeji. Na hivyo dereva tangia alipokuwa tunatoka hivi tulicheleweshwa pale kwenye mpaka ule tunaambiwa kukaguliwa. Kwa hiyo alipotoka hapo kama alikuwa analipia ule muda uliopotea pale mpakani. Tembea kwa kasi sana hivyo overtake. Ndio hivyo muda usiku watu wengi walikuwa wamelala. Sasa wenyewe tulikuwa active like so sana. Kashangaa tu hiyo ni vurugu hivyo tumegongana hilo gari la mchele watu wameruka hivyo. Uwezo wa Mungu tumeokoka.
I'm Dennis Aseda. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay, a few minutes after 7 o'clock, and we're looking at traffic. It's built up in most parts of the city this morning. Let's take a look at what's happening on the Thika Superhighway coming into the CBD. There's hold up right around that Pangani underpass, and then as you're getting out into the city, you should be okay for now. As you're coming out of Westlands, also there is a little bit of a hold up on Waiaki Way. Again, nothing too scary. Jogo Road is also building up traffic. Then as you come out through towards the Makadara train station, and then out towards the Landis Road Junction, and then through towards Kamkunji. I think everybody's just kind of waking up on Tuesday morning. Let's see what happens as we get into the morning, but nothing crazy. It doesn't matter where you are right now. I think you'll be able to get in and out without too much of a headache. We're going to keep an eye on things. Help us out here as well. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room,
7 minutes
the only way to start your day.
January. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation in its second hour. And welcome all our audiences who are joining us on our live streams, as well as our audiences on KTN Home. We get into conversations on devolution this hour. Our guest is already seated. And as we get into this... as we get into it, we're going to be talking about really what's happening in the counties. Never been here before. We've tried to have her here for years. So this is a good day. The governor of Homa Bay County, Honorable Gladys Wanga. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well and happy to be here.
I had to come and touch you to make sure that it's actually you that you're here, because it's...
No, we are now villagers, you know. We are in the village a lot.
I know. Well, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. This is the hot seat of The Situation Room. And
is it?
It is.
I hope it won't burn.
Well, there's water
there
somewhere.
There are no guarantees. Yeah.
There's water somewhere to kind of cool things off. And speaking of water, as we get into it this morning, Keringet, you've heard of it, haven't you?
Yes.
Keringet, as I did not know before, means spring. Spring of fresh water that comes up from the richness of the earth, and with all the vitamins and minerals that one would need for sustenance, for refreshment. And that's where Keringet gets its richness. And we are being asked to take part of that richness. You own it. Own your richness with Keringet in a bottle of refreshing water. And all through, not refreshing for a minute, but refreshing in through the whole experience. It cools you down when you're in the hot seat, but at the same time gives you everything that you need in terms of refreshment and richness. Own your richness today with Keringet fresh water. This man, C.T. Muga, goes around the continent every week, and he comes back with let me just say, calabash of proverbs. And this week, with the Pan-African Bank, EcoBank, which makes sure that transactions are seamless in the nations that it's represented in across the continent, make sure that Africa is better, that you are better, that we all are better, that we're able to transact, waking up in one city, going to bed in another, and also throwing their support behind a great sporting activity that's taking place in the name of the Africa Cup of Nations in Côte d'Ivoire. So with EcoBank, CT has today's proverb.
Zimbabwe is a very unique country. It is the only country on this continent that can boast that it had a president who was 100% white. Ian Smith in 1965 decided that he was going to declare a unilateral, it's called a UDI, and he did. And as far as he was concerned, Rhodesia, as it was called then, was a country that had then freed itself from the UK. Now, the other thing is, this country is one of the very few countries that has 2 vice presidents. There is the president, whose first name is easy to pronounce because it's Emerson. The second name I always struggled with, Nagangwa. Well, you have said it, and thank you so much. I was going to tie myself in knots with that one.
It helps to have lived in South Africa.
See? Yes. Now, it has a first vice president called Constantino Chiwenga, a second vice president called Kembo Mohadi. Okay? It has a lower and an upper house just like us. Okay?
Do we have a lower and an upper house?
In theory, we do.
It's a big debate.
In theory, we do. The moment you have 2 houses, then you can say, okay, Your Excellency, perhaps I should correct myself. We have 2 houses.
Yes.
Okay. Whether it's lower or upper or in the middle, that is a subject of debate.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. Now I've corrected myself.
Now the proverb?
Yes. Now the proverb. Not blood. Blood is for tomorrow. God is good, but never dance with a lion.
Okay.
You have a thought about that, Mheshimiwa?
Yeah, I think don't push it too far. Yeah, God will protect you. He rescued Daniel, from the den of lions, but I think just don't push it. Although, I think it's sort of standing on the Bible and doing all manner of things, saying, God will protect me, including if you're stealing, maybe. So I think that's the...
Wow.
Let's not use that cover. Let's not push it too far. But I'm a believer that God is faithful and He does miracles. Yeah.
But don't push it. Don't push the envelope.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, okay. So, women rep, governor. You make the leap, Governor.
Yeah.
And let's just start off with that. Knocking on 2 years as the first female governor of Homa Bay County. Many firsts for you. Let's have a look from your point of view, what it's been like to sit at the top post at the county level so far.
Yeah, I think I'm really, humbled and thankful to God. And God is good, as Muga has said. And humbled by the people of Homa Bay, having made that choice. I worked as woman rep for 10 years. And that really prepared me, but not enough for the responsibility that I carry as governor of Homa Bay. A colleague of mine said, and I agree, that you never quite feel the weight of public service until you sit on that seat as governor. The weight on your shoulders is immense, and the sense of responsibility is huge, because every day you wake up and every single thing that could go wrong, in Homa Bay is really on your shoulders. Whether people are swept away by floods, it's on your shoulder. Whether, your doctors or nurses have a problem and want to, sort of go on strike or whatever, it is on your shoulder. Whether there is no, medicine in your facilities, it is on your shoulder. Whether your roads are been swept by El Nino, which is beyond your control, it is on your shoulder. So the sense of responsibility is huge. And again, the way the 2010 Constitution was crafted is in such a way that most basic services that touch the people right where they are are devolved functions. Whether you think about agriculture, even if today armyworms were to land on farms and eat all the crops that farmers have planted, it is on your shoulder. All locusts. Think about anything. So a lot of the sensitive functions are devolved, and therefore the sense of responsibility, Ndu, I can tell you, is huge. And then there is the promise of devolution. What the people of Kenya envisioned devolution to be and to do. And it is then on your shoulder to deliver on that promise of people having money in their pockets, people having food on their tables, people having clean water to drink, so this whole responsibility comes of delivering the promise of devolution comes on your shoulders with very minimal resources. In Homa Bay, we have a joke and we say we are the county of endless potential, but very limited resources. The potential is endless, but the resources we must always keep in mind that they are not endless. So this is the picture of devolution. Huge responsibility, but very limited.
From a county
resources.
point of view, and the development that you have seen in Homa Bay, I don't think anybody can refuse what devolution then actually has done for the country. But from a Homa Bay perspective, would Homa Bay as a county, looking at all these things that you've mentioned, then be able to survive, reach where it has reached without the elements of devolution?
No. I don't think any county would be where it is if we had passed or if we had shunned devolution. Devolution has brought a huge change. First of all, it has brought money. Even if it is little, there is money. There is a class of, people who work for the county, with the county. They contract for the county. They work within the counties. There are services, there are MCAs who ensure that at the very minimum, services go all the way to ward level and that people in the wards make decisions. So to answer your question, there would have been a big difference in the negative if there wasn't devolution. Devolution has made a big difference. I think if you ask Kenyans today whether you should scrap devolution, for example, the answer would be a big no.
I am curious, Mheshimiwa. I keep thinking about devolution and the parts of it that have yet to reach to be fully devolved. Healthcare is an example. You've talked about agriculture. What do you think it takes for national government to finally cede this authority to governors? And also, as you answer me, why has it not been done?
So what does it take, Mark? That's your question. I think it just takes a bold government that knows that the more you devolve, the more your people survive, and it doesn't matter who takes the credit. I think national government must just agree that it doesn't matter where the credit goes. Let's devolve the functions. Because I think the two things that are keeping functions up here. One is people wanting to control resources, and when you control resources, you can say, Muga, do you need a dispensary? I can give you one here today by my whim. Okay, that is one element. That control of resources. And by the way, Kenya has largely been sent. By the way, do you know that we started with devolution at Omajimbo at Independence?
Yes.
It was completely scrapped. Then now we have moved, and now we are at we came back to devolution again. From a very, very central, centralist thinking, where people feel, people should come to Nairobi to be able to get the resources. So I think what has been happening now is the discussion around unbundling, and that's, what should be done. There is the IGTRC, which is the Intergovernmental Technical Committee, has been working and meeting because the president had said that he in his promise that all functions should be devolved. So there's been a long meeting in Naivasha, I think 2-3 weeks ago, where they have been discussing how do these functions go down. But it just requires boldness to say, let's give service to the people. It doesn't matter where the credit goes. If that boldness happens, we will devolve all our functions and we will ensure that our people have the services in line with the Constitution.
That's interesting. You're basically saying that it's about taking credit. That's the boldness that's required to cede credit to governors.
Credit and resources.
Wow.
So that's it. Because one of the things is that we can talk about devolution until we go, blue in the face. But that is the question not deeper than that? Or is the issue not deeper than that? When we're saying, yes, fine, seed function, but we're also saying, let the money follow that seeding.
I can tell you at the bottom of it is control of resources. I want to sit in Nairobi and say, Mark, I will give you this, I will give you that. There are people who work in government who I don't think have come to the reality that devolution is a constitutional, it's a constitutional imperative. So at the end of the day, if people say they can cede resources, and I agree with you, Ndu, resources must follow functions. By the way, there are functions that are executed by county governments that have no resources to them. One being ECD. Counties are, building ECD classrooms, and counties are paying ECD teachers, which is the biggest portion, by the way, of county wage bills, together with health. If you combine ECD and health, those are the biggest components. But there are no resources that have left national government to follow. So that's why I'm saying credit and resources, two things.
Must follow.
Yeah.
Okay, so IBEC met the last couple of days. And 450 billion shillings is the money that should go to counties.
Yes.
The Council of Governors, when greeted with this news that money was going to be slashed by about 60 billion because of what is available from National Treasury, also says the chair of IBEC in the name of the Deputy President, the Council of Governors, which we now assume sits and represents everybody, said no.
Exactly.
There's a stalemate. Said we're not going to take this money because this is not what was promised, and many things. Okay, so it's a plethora of questions there, Governor. Why refuse the money if that's what's available? Had you not better take that and then continue? And then what does this stalemate really represent?
Sundu, you're the one who said correctly that resources must follow functions. There's no two ways about it. You can't have a function and have no resources to implement it. So the National Treasury is saying all they have available is 398 billion. Okay? CRA have said 398 plus 10, so 411. Counties are saying if we look at our functions and the changes that have occurred, we need 450 billion to be able to execute our functions. How? First of all, there is a program in health. It's called the Managed Equipment Services. MES, or MES, if you were to call it.
I would be a little gentler with that word MES because it tends to conjure up memories of things that are actually quite messy. Let's go with managed equipment.
Yeah, managed equipment. Let's say managed equipment services. Yeah. So the MES is a function that has been handled by the national government over the last years. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect program. As you say, Senate has looked at it, all these people. But at the end of the day, the people in Homa Bay, for example, saw an MRI through this MES program, okay? People in other counties, in West Pokot, Turkana, people who'd never seen CT scans and so on, dialysis, for example, have seen it through the program. And now the equipment have come to their sell-by date, over on the first program. The government, understandably said, this MES has had so much complication, we cannot continue with it. We said, okay, fine, but let's have a program that brings equipment. Even if counties get the money, it's about 5 billion, counties get the money to then sort their own equipment. So one of the reasons why we are saying the money needs to be added to 4 billion is this MES, which is about 5 billion, which ensures that their equipment in the hospitals. And this is the situation. Without this money, the equipment that we have, even the renal equipment, they only work up to a certain date. After which, they don't even clean the blood, even if you try. So even if you go there, maybe it will just be poisoning instead of cleaning. I mean, it will be moving, but poisoning instead of cleaning. So what's going to happen is, without this service, we are going to start seeing the trooping back to Kenyatta. Because if the CT scan in Homa Bay is not working, and the MRI is not working, people must still get CT scans. They'll go to Kisii, maybe it's not working there. They'll have to troop back. So you're going to have people trooping back up. So that's one of the reasons why we're saying push the money to 450. There are things like the levies that have been introduced, housing levy, other levies. Counties have to pay for their employees, isn't it? There's no budget for that kind of thing. You have to pay yours as the employees deducted. As an employer, you must also pay. So that also must be factored, in. And then there's the road maintenance levy, which the counties, need to have also a part of 15% in line with the constitution. So that is also over 10 billion there. So when we looked and analyzed everything that is required by counties to deliver on the services that we are given, where we are following the principle of resources following functions, we need 450 billion. So the stalemate is, national government says 398. And the reason we sometimes, push this is, immediately after Treasury saying they have 398 billion, they will immediately come to counties and say, we want to grant you for health this amount. So why are you granting us? Why can't you just put it as part of our equitable share, so that it's in the county? Because after we have taken 398, for example, the national government will come and say, okay, we have some 5 billion, which we want to put, we will be giving these counties, you must give this, and so on and so forth.
So you're saying the money is there, but they just don't want to give it to you. Is that what you're saying?
And this is the analysis that we already did. We said we don't even want additional money. We just want to look through the ministries that are conducting county functions, agriculture, health, all, and then see what do they have that can actually move to counties, which are for devolved functions anyway. That is what we are discussing, and that is what we are saying, and that is what we said even last time. Don't give us new money, because of course money is strained. Everybody knows that money is a problem at the moment. So just give us what is being held by ministries for functions that should be devolved anyway.
Excellency, the question that many people raise at such a point is to say that many county governments are spending more on recurrent expenditure, salaries and things like that, and very little money is being put towards development. So perhaps put it to us, how much of this 450 billion that is being sought after is actually recurrent, and how much of it is expected to actually go towards development of our counties?
There's the rule of the thumb that you need to spend at least 30% of the monies you receive on development. And I think counties do try. If you saw even the last report by the Controller of Budget, not the one for the quarter. The one for the quarter doesn't give a correct picture. Why?
She says you've spent 67 billion shillings on non-priority issues.
Yes.
No. Okay. Well, I read that report about non-priority
spending.
Spending. It depends on now how the priorities are put. But what I wanted to say first is there's a report the Controller of Budget gave and said counties have not spent on so many counties have not spent on development for the first quarter, for example. In that first quarter, it's 3 months, July, August, September. But you see, the report is given when counties have already only received 1 month money. For example, money for July came at the end of August. Money for August came at the end of September to begin spending in October, which means that in the quarter that you're talking about, you only have 1, but you have paid salaries for 3 months, and you cannot wait for people. You cannot wait for salary. People cannot wait for salaries for 3 months.
Can I ask, before we go to a break,
yes,
how do you make that happen? I think it's important for us to understand that if money from the National Treasury for the month of July comes at the end of August, or if money for August comes at the end of September,
or even October, or even like now, counties have not received money for November.
For November, and we are in January,
and this is
still,
end of
okay.
Now you have to pay salaries for January. It's end of January.
Where does that money come from?
You borrow
from
You have to talk to banks, institutions. You tell them, can you help me to pay my employees? Because employees will definitely down their tools if they have not been paid. So
that it make it even more expensive then?
It does make it more expensive. It is the situation that we are in, because many of the counties must go to institutions, financial institutions, discuss with them, tell them, please help us so that we clear with these salaries. That is exactly how counties survive. Because if from November, surely there's no county that has not paid November salaries. Counties have paid December salaries. Counties must pay January salaries. That is 3 months later, you know. That is 3 months later before national government has sent money to counties.
Do development then?
So when you want to start talking about development, so the money towards the end of the financial year, the money will come and counties will pay for development. But you see, the judgment has already been done in the first quarter, in the second quarter, when you didn't, even if now somebody says you haven't spent in the second quarter, for example, you don't have money for November, you only received money for October, you are struggling with your salaries and other things. But let me come to the other question of development funding that, Mark, you asked. So in the last financial year, if you looked, a decent number of counties hit the 30% mark. But there's a bigger debate that we must have. If you hire ECD teachers, is that development or recurring?
Salaries?
Well, the first time it's development, the second time it's recurring.
No, if you hire ECD teachers, you are developing your human capital.
Capacity, yes.
Is that really something you want to say is recurrent? Because the teacher actually is what you need to develop your human capital. Your doctors and nurses who provide health services in your hospitals, you know, you must develop your healthcare and health foundation. So sometimes when this whole money is lumped, it is actually some very, very basic things like human capital development. And this is a debate that we've had with the Commissioner on Revenue Allocation. We've had with SRC to say, tell us about ECD. How do we develop human capital without ECD teachers, for example? So anyway, that's another debate. But just to say that the whole amount that is said is for recurrent is not necessarily just wasted money of people moving around. It is actually money that sometimes some of it is going towards real development. And the only way we can develop our human capital, for example, is not just building classrooms. Because if you build a classroom, it is considered development.
Right.
But if you hire a teacher, you're told that is recurrent expenditure. But the classroom cannot teach, children cannot teach themselves in that classroom. In fact, even if they walk into the classroom and walk out, they will have nothing in their heads. But even if they sit under a tree with a teacher, it will be development.
Let's take a break on that point. The Honourable Gladys Wanga is in the hot seat this morning, and we're looking at issues of development and devolution at the county level. It's 27 minutes to 8 o'clock. The conversations continue right after this.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Na hii mambo utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Across Africa, a new era has begun. Shifting our focus to a new horizon, connecting us with one purpose: to create and share opportunities to grow. Unity, we are making a brighter tomorrow, built by our dreams and our energy. Across our continent, across the world, we are creating a better way to a better future. A Pan-African future. Together. EcoBank. A better way. A better Africa.
Oh, finally! It's my Standard Courier delivery.
At Standard Courier, we know that your time is valuable. That's why we guarantee swift and efficient deliveries to your doorstep every time. Give us a call on 0793 599 684 or schedule your next delivery by visiting our website www.standardmedia.co.ke/courier. Trust Standard Courier service for all your courier needs. We deliver with pride.
Spice up your life.
That sounds my road.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 25 and we'll see highs of 26 in a sunny Nakuru. It'll go to highs of 26 as well in Nyeri and 25 in Eldoret. Mombasa this morning we'll see highs of 32 through Tuesday, and in Malindi we'll see highs of 32 as well. Kisumu will see highs of 29 while Kakamega sees highs of 29. Kampala with the rain continues, highs of 28, and cloudy conditions will see highs of 31 in Dar es Salaam. 17 and sunny in Johannesburg, and 27 and sunny in Mogadishu. It's 16 and sunny in Addis Ababa, while Lagos is hazy at 24. It's raining in Kinshasa at 24.
Spice up your life.
It's a busy Tuesday morning, and as we're getting into traffic hour, we're looking at traffic heavy on Jogo Road as you come past Makadara at the train station. But then it's also heavy coming off of Langata Road. Raila Odinga Way is busy getting towards the city mortuary roundabout on Gong Road. Very busy on the Thika Superhighway this morning coming in through Tusker Village. Far beyond that, coming in from Clay City, traffic is piling as you get towards the Pangani underpass. The service lanes are working well. You might want to use them to get there faster. It's busy on Kiambu Road, quite a number of lanes, folks trying to get out through Muthaiga Square, and also on Limuru Road we're looking at a hold up as you get into the CBD. It'll all fizzle out in good time. Let us know what's going on where you are this morning. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
County is our guest this hour, and we continue with those conversations briefly before we get right back into that, because Governor, when we hear, obviously, in the court of public opinion, there's judgment that is passed. When we see these reports, and the first thing that we're told is, well, okay, devolution is working, but then development did not happen, and there's all this money that has been given for development. These three bodies, CRA, SRC, control of budget, is there constant engagement amongst the counties and these three institutions?
Yes, and Ndu, earlier you mentioned IBEC, and IBEC is the body that brings governors, the executive, and the constitutional commissions together. So this is where consultations are held on the various issues. So yes, there is constant consultations through that IBEC platform. But in the event governors want to, say, meet with the controller or any of the bodies, Council of Governors, does invite them to come and, shed light on various issues. So the issues I was mentioning, like whether education, ECD teachers is development or or recurrent is a question that we have been, it's been in debate, in discussion. So it's not for lack of a platform or a forum. The other question of the Control of Budgets report, the other discussion we are having is the Control of Budget has a constitutional mandate to report quarterly. So she reports whether counties received money or didn't receive money. So she has to give her report at the end of every quarter. So what we've been discussing is, Controller, can you, for example, report after counties have received monies for 3 months, then you report on how the expenditure for those 3 months are. So there are issues of principle here, because the controller says, no, the year has 4 quarters, and I have to report at the end of every quarter by my mandate. If I don't report again, I will be found to have failed in my responsibility. But as we say, so surely if we don't receive money the entire first quarter, for example, and you report we have spent nothing, then again that gives a different picture from what the reality is. So these are discussions that are continuous discussions. Maybe that we will place them somewhere, but it's not that we have not had a conversation. We have conversations all the time. It's only that constitutional mandates differ, and everybody wants to be able to conduct their constitutional mandate without appearing to be, muzzled. So sometimes when we get opportunities like this, we can explain to the public that maybe this report, this is the context, or this report, this was the context. So that, but it doesn't stop the public, for example, from just dismissing governors and saying, why are they not spending on development? Why are they just living large? Why are they just, why are they stealing? Why are they doing this? So these are things that are put on governors that sometimes when you're not a governor, you might think, oh yeah, maybe it's true. But when you become a governor, then the responsibility on you to deliver is bigger than anything else you look at.
Question, Mheshimiwa. When we talk about delays from national government to county governments, I am wondering to myself why we are talking about it as though we need to adjust to that abnormal instead of adjusting that 3-month delay, because I don't think City here delays paying his taxes for 3 months so that the government can delay to release money for 3 months. The government collects on time. Why is it that these manners that of delayed payments to county governments is now being normalized to the extent that we want the Control of Budget to report according to disbursements? How can we correct?
This is the biggest discussion we have. Every IBEC, every summit, every meeting we have, the first item on the agenda is delayed disbursements. It is a matter that it's like a cancer on our skin. It has gone on and gone on and gone on. Previous regime, this regime, you find every time there is at least a 2-month lag. At the beginning of this financial year, the national government put money on time for counties. So when it was July, the money for July had been put. But IFMIS opened at the end of August for the use of the money to begin. Then after that, there is delay and more delay. So Mark, I agree with you totally that this shouldn't be the normal. It should be the exception if there is a delay, because the Constitution is very clear and the PFM as to when money should go to counties. By 15th of January, I should have received January disbursement.
So the national government is in violation of the Constitution.
Exactly. Total violation of the Constitution.
Are we to assume, therefore, that this is symptomatic of a problem that the government keeps talking of and also not talking of, that they actually don't have enough money? Or is this a deliberate ploy? Because as you say correctly, the previous government had same issues. And yet, we could argue that some of the financial woes that this government has, at least in the first term of the previous government, were not really there.
Exactly. I mean, I don't. Many times you don't believe it's a money issue. It's a prioritization issue because there are things that are paid on time, every time, and I think it's a prioritization. It's where the government thinks it's normal to just delay for 3 months and it's okay. And even when the money is given, it's given a little, and then you're told, no, you still have money in your...
It's like a prescription.
Yes, it's ni kama dawa. Unapewa, 4 counties, 10 counties, 15 counties. On 15th, there should just be a plan for all counties, money pushed.
Yes.
All counties, money pushed. Now they check, oh, do you have any money left in your account? And maybe you have already obligated all those monies, but surely you can't pay them off because maybe you're still doing your paperwork or making sure everything is done right.
Mhm.
But then your money for the next disbursement is delayed on the basis that you still have some money in your CRF account.
Sure.
There's something that we have, and it's just a given. Governments are a continuum, meaning what President Ruto inherited, because he did inherit, was what was left for him. What President Uhuru got was what was left for him. Now, this particular government has regaled us with very many tales of war regarding, well, just to begin with, empty coffers and all manner of things that they found. I don't hear those tales of war coming from county governments.
Yeah.
Why is it you people don't complain? Because you do inherit someone else's good governance or someone else's horrible management. You do inherit them. And they very much determine the path that your government is going to take. How is it that we never hear you people talk about it? You people meaning you governors.
Tell me about it, Buka, because you come in, you make a decision. Do you want to whine and about the former regime for good? I mean, people listen to it 1, 2, 3 months, then they get tired. They say, Bana, you just work for us. We have elected you. So sometimes you choose. Some of us did not come in a very good place, even in the counties. I mean, we found counties that were not in a good place. But you fold your sleeves. You said, these people have elected me. If you use the Bible for such a time as this, and then you cry a bit, wipe your tears, fold your sleeves, unaanza kazi. And people, by the way, don't want to hear those things of, formally, sijui what. They can just listen, because now they can't tell you, no, don't stop. No. But they are not listening. If you tell them those things, they are not listening to those things. They just want you to tell them, what is your plan to move forward? And they want to see you implementing that plan. So I think the strategy of, this, that, what, it doesn't work. It works a bit for the first few months, give me time, I'm still sorting out the former things. 6 months, watu watakupea, we know you received this. After that, they just tell you, Wanga, we elected you, my friend.
Not those.
You stood on an agenda. Fanya hiyo kazi.
There's something that Homa Bay County has done.
Yeah.
It's unique, and it's the only county in this country that has. It's a government-to-government understanding with Pepa. Tell us about this.
What we have, and we are probably not the only county, because what Pepa has done is. Among the first, actually. What Pepa has done is they have been working through implementing partners.
Yes, they have.
So if there's a program to be run in Homa Bay, they will pick an implementing partner. Say like in Homa Bay, it's LVCT Health, and they give LVCT Health the money. Then LVCT comes to implement the program. So LVCT reports to Pepa and reports to us. So we have like a tripartite agreement there. So the G2G is in recognition of the fact that we have had counties for 10 years. Their systems have matured. Their financial systems have matured. Organizational systems have matured. And money can be given directly to the county government.
So no middleman.
No middleman. Can be given directly to the county government to manage. And the county can report back to Pepa. So it is that recognition. And it is a recognition that comes after your systems are tested, tried, and seen to be tight enough to be able to handle money of the people of America.
Yes. Run with transparency and integrity.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because the standards are rather high. So it's to tighten. And I think that is the direction generally that we should move. Because devolved units are there for... We have grown. I mean, initially you couldn't say, give counties directly because systems take time to grow. Even Kenya, we are 60 years, but we are still tightening systems. So counties were 10 years, are now 10 years, going into 11, 12. I think it was important for those systems to tighten. But now, I think we are running.
How is the regional cooperation bodies working since there's been a lot of changeover of governors? Is the, for example, Lake Basin region team working? How is that going? Because we realized quite early that our counties might be too small to work independently.
Yeah, you mean like the Lake Region Economic Bloc,
yes.
which is a block of 14 counties, and they sort of just transition in. Once new governors come in, they just induct you, and then they come in. They continue to work. Have the economic blocks worked as was envisaged or anticipated? I think there's a lot of room for synergy still, because I think we have to think about it that way. We have to think about counties being too small and therefore leveraging on the strength of numbers. Have we done it to the best of where we should be? We are struggling, but we haven't gotten there. Because we need to get to a point where we say, Homa Bay, what is your strength? Okay? Bomet, in the same regional economic bloc, what is your strength? Kericho, what is yours? Bungoma, what is yours? Kisumu, what is yours? So instead of all of us doing the same thing, we say, Homa Bay, stick with this. Okay, for example, we want to be leaders in cotton production. That is our objective. We want to be the leaders, the leading cotton producing county in the country. So we can say, okay, in terms of setting up ginning, spinning, or whatever, even if it's just ginning, in terms of big ginning, Homa Bay set it up. Let anybody else who's growing cotton,
come and
work together with you in it, so that we know this is our leader in this. Maybe there's fish, maybe if Kisumu, or tea, maybe Bomet. So if we do that, we can leverage on each other's strengths and also leverage on production volumes, because investment and like we are looking at investments and the counties and the country has become now a lower middle income. With lower middle income status, nobody wants to give you aid.
CT may not agree with that, but okay.
Yeah. Well, no, we have been marked as lower middle.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now that we have been marked as lower middle, so that we don't argue about whether we are or we are not, we have been marked that, and therefore we are moving from aid to trade.
Okay.
Nobody wants to give you donate. You can't go with a begging basket anymore. So with a trade and investment mentality, then now we have to look at what are our value propositions as various counties, and then we look at our unique value propositions, and then we look at what can we gain by the volumes of coming together as a block.
Okay, so obviously the development of the county is top of the agenda for you, and many did say that once you got into that position, you put your head down, just like you said, you rolled up your sleeves and said, look, there's a lot of work to be done, let's do it. Prior to that, it was very clear where your position was politically and who your allegiance was sworn to, and I don't think that has changed. However, the voice seems to have gone down in volume. Dipped in volume. The sound has dipped in volume. And so the questions are arising and budding and saying, okay, did the opposition lose the voice of Gladys Wanga when we would have previously heard the things that we hear like happening with the judiciary and the position that the person of Raila Odinga and the opposition have taken? We would have heard Gladys Wanga somewhere in there. When we see things like them wanting to send police officers to Haiti, we would have heard the voice of Gladys Wanga in there. Is there a balance that can be created between the work that the county needs you to do and the position that you had clearly taken politically before that?
Politically and ethically.
So my position has not changed. This is Gladys Wanga. I'm an ODM governor, and I am, my party leader is Raila Odinga, and I follow him, and I do mobilization for ODM in terms of every work that is needed to be done. The only difference is I'm not in Nairobi much. I am in the village 80% of the time. So when I was in Nairobi as MP, I was here all week. So if Spice called me, I'd be here and make my position known. I would be in KTN, I would be in Citizen, I would be everywhere. But that does not change my position. The only thing is sometimes when you're in the village, a lot, you don't get the prominence. Even you can talk about some of these things, but they don't get the prominence on national media that they should, just because the local media there are prioritizing more. Is there water for drinking? Is there medicine in the hospital? You are taken on very, very, very basic. And these are the most important things, to the people. They want you to talk about medicine and all these things. Sometimes even when you talk about judges, it doesn't make its way up, because the local media, they will only take the part of the. But now that I'm here, I think it's important to say that the judiciary is independent, must be left with its independence. Otherwise, there would be anarchy, that follows. So when I get these opportunities, my voice is loud, my voice is strong. I remain a firm believer in the ODM party. The counties, the way they are fashioned by their by the constitution, counties and national government are they are distinct but interdependent. So the work I do in Homa Bay must be done in partnership with the national government, and that is an agreed position even within our parties, ranks. So that is an agreed position that we must work for the people of Homa Bay. Sometimes it requires you to liaise with the national government, but that doesn't change your political position. The politics is there, it is strong. I might not be in the studio as much as I used to be. Sometimes, in Parliament, every week you have to hold a presser on one matter or the other. Yeah. In the village, you might not, do that as often. But that is the transitioning from the national government. And these are things I had to think through, before, because some people told me, Wanga, you're going to disappear in the village. Yeah. Who's going to hear you there? And it is true that sometimes your voice is drowned. Yeah. But it is a choice you make sometimes, because when you move to the village, it is a choice you have made for that time. Yes. And maybe the time comes when the voice you come back to the national and you are available again. But the position, the stand on these issues has not changed.
You're still heavy on development for Homa Bay.
Yes.
There's an investment summit. Yes. Coming up. What is this about, and how will it actually affect development in the county?
Yeah. So as I said, we have been for a long time saying, aid us this and aid us that. Nobody is looking at that anymore. People are saying we have to trade. You have to tell us what opportunities are for investment, so that even as I make my investment, your people get employment, but I also have a return on my investment. And that's the discussion that we're having. And that is why we are setting up the second Homa Bay International Investment Conference, which is coming up from 27th to 29th of February. So from 27th to 29th, we'll be in Homa Bay discussing what are the opportunities available for investment in Homa Bay. And I've mentioned we are an agricultural county, largely, 80% agricultural. We also are a fishing county. Many people don't know that 80% of Kenya's Lake Victoria is actually in Homa Bay. No. The shores of Lake Victoria, 80% of it is in Homa Bay. Many people, they say the lake, they don't think about Homa Bay. But really, the most of the lake, the 6% of the lake that is in Kenya, 80% of it, the shoreline is in Homa Bay. So we are a big aquaculture fishing county. So that's another. So we are prioritizing the cotton value chain, and we want to be leaders in cotton. We want to be leaders in fish and aquaculture, processing, fish farming and processing, and edible oils, oil palm. Oil palm, right now we are expending $1 billion a year of forex to import crude palm oil. Yet, I went to Uganda in Kalangala Island. The climatic conditions are the same as Homa Bay. So this can grow on the lake belt very, very well. And so we want to focus on that. We want to focus on groundnuts. Homa Bay is a nut belt. Anywhere you step, groundnuts can grow there, actually, yes. And if I come to visit you, like even if I knew I was coming today when I left Homa Bay, I would have brought you nuts. Yeah. I would have brought you fish. I would have brought you sweet potatoes, the sweetest. That's another value chain. The sweetest in the country, actually. The Queen of England used to eat, the late Queen used to eat the sweet potatoes. And then we are looking at pineapples also. So we have 3 priority and 2 that we are also bringing along. Pineapple and sweet potatoes. 3, which we want to be leaders in, is cotton, fish, and edible oils. Soya, when you talk about edible oils, it's oil palm, soya, groundnuts, sunflower. So those are our priorities there. And tourism, Ndu.
Yeah.
You know, with this amount of lake and over 16 islands and a national park, the Ruma National Park, I'm telling you, you can spend your entire holiday in Homa Bay. And from Kabunde Airport, where we now land, by the way, we don't arrive in Homa Bay, we land, we have a commercial airline. So from Kabunde to the gate of Mara Serena is 2 hours. Exactly. So people can come from Mara, they drive, they jump into a cruise ship, they cruise in the Victoria, they go all the way, they can go to Mwanza, then go into the Serengeti. I'm telling you.
And we will land
out of this world.
Honorable Gladys Wanga, it's been a pleasure having you in the studio this morning. Thank you very much. Until the next time, Asante Sana. Folks, it's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. Dennis Asato. President William Ruto has defended his decision to attend the Italy-Africa Summit Monday, despite earlier declaring that he and other African leaders would not be summoned by a single country. In an April 2023 video, President Ruto stated that Africa would hold discussions with other countries as a whole, represented by the African Union. He questioned the honesty of inviting all African heads of state to a summit and then loading them onto buses like school children. Ruto spoke at the Mo Ibrahim Governance Weekend held at the Kenyatta International Convention Center on Saturday, that is April 29th, 2023. But while in Italy, Ruto, while addressing the Italy-Africa Summit, praised Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's pragmatic approach to global challenges and expressing gratitude for Italy's Mattei plan, particularly its emphasis on energy security for Africa and the Mediterranean nations. Ruto is attending the summit in his capacity as the chair of the Committee of African Heads of State and Government on Climate Change. The head of state emphasized the importance of moving away from fossil fuels and towards renewables, highlighting Kenya's pledge to increase renewable energy capacity from 3 gigawatts to a formidable 100 gigawatts by 2050. And the Principal Secretary in the State Department of Energy, Alex Oshira, has called on technical officers engaged in the ongoing transfer of functions from the national government to the county governments to ensure the process is consultative. Speaking in Naivasha, Nakuru County, the PS welcomed the move by the Intergovernmental Technical Relations to revoke the Gazette notice that was published on 27th November 2023 to allow further deliberations. And the Kenya National Union of Teachers is piling pressure on Teachers Employer Teacher Service Commission and Ministry of Education to employ more ECDE teachers as opposed to the current system where they are employed by the boards set up by the counties. Trans Nzoia NAT Secretary General George Wanjala says it's important that the county's role is to build proper infrastructure.
Tunataka kumpongeza governor kwa sababu amejaribu sana kuajiri walimu ECD on permanent and pensionable terms, walimu karibu 700. Tunaomba aendelee, lakini anapofanya hivyo sisi tunajua kwamba kwingineko katika Kenya walimu wanalipwa mishahara tofauti. Kila county ina its own scheme of service, na sisi kama chama cha NAT daima tumepigania unified terms and conditions of service for our members. Kama ni mwalimu wa ECD pre-primary, na hilo tu litakuwa corrected kama walimu hao watalipwa na one body. Kwa hivyo walimu wetu wanafaa kulipwa na Teacher Service Commission ili hiyo unified terms and conditions of service iwe realized.
Wanjala has also condemned the attack on teachers whenever school does not record good results.
So far I've received 6 cases kwa shule kadhaa. Tumeshuhudia shule ya Kapchepsir, shule ya Mwaita, shule ya Bwake, Makindu Primary. Tumekuwa na mambo kama haya, wazazi wafungia walimu wakuu shule kusema kwamba matokeo yamekuwa mabaya. As a union we are concerned. Shule inapofanya vizuri, tumeshuhudia wazazi, wanafunzi, walimu wote wakimba wakisherekea kwamba shule yetu sisi tumefanya vizuri. Lakini matokeo yakiwa mabaya, wazazi wanajiondoa. Lazima wajue kitu kimoja kwamba ili matokeo yawe mazuri, lazima kuwe na mazingira mazuri yanaletwa na the school community.
Two suspects are charged with the murder of Meru blogger Daniel Muthiani Barnard, alias Sniper. Vincent Murithi Kirimi, also known as Supu, and Kenneth Murangiri Gwantai, also known as Tali, pleaded not guilty to the murder case before Lady Justice Dora Chepkony at Kiambu High Court after going for mental assessment to stand trial and the plea taken. The two were charged with murder contrary to Section 203 as read with Section 204 of the Penal Code. And the Court of Appeal has ruled that the body of former Borabu parliamentary aspirant Naftali Ontweka in Kisii County be released to his widow Zipporah Masese Ondieki and be buried in Kamulu. The deceased died last in April, but his brothers moved to court and challenged the decision to have the body interred in Kamulu, while his widow wanted him buried in Kamulu as it was their matrimonial home. His brothers wanted him buried in Kiango, Kisii County, where he also had a home. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin der, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation.
All right, a few minutes after 8 o'clock and traffic is still busy in the city today. Let's see what's happening right around the Thika Superhighway, where we saw a bit of a hold-up just before the Pangani Tunnel. That seems to still be there, and we're not surprised because it'll happen for most parts of the morning. It was heavy coming in from Tusker Village, and it still is as you approach the GSU headquarters. So let's just, if you're heading in that direction, there might be a bit of a hold-up. Well, there will, because we can see it. Okay. As you're coming into the CBD, also the Globe Cinema overpass, there's traffic there. Also traffic coming into the city by way of Limuru Road. Wayaki Way is also busy, but it's moving. No hold-ups just yet. At least not for now. Gong Road busy as you're coming towards the junction that connects with Naivasha Road, and then out towards Riara. We'll see that there will be a bit of a hold-up there as well. Langata Road busy going towards Raila Odinga Way, and traffic comes to a standstill at the junction. It's traffic hour. It's to be expected. Let's see what happens as we go through the next hour. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
9
Room.
minutes after 8 o'clock into the third hour of the Situation Room this morning. And as we get into more conversations, Karibu Sana, we continue with our audiences. Not to forget your live streams are up, as well as welcoming our audience again on KTN Home. We're getting into it this morning. Into a host, CT Muga with you. And our guest host for this show is Mark Bichachi. Okay, labor conversations have been all over the place, and the labor that I'm talking about is work. Not that there's a difference, but okay, skilled labor that Kenya is now offering around the world. Okay, and jobs that we've been told are available. We're going to be getting into that discussion today, and the Permanent Secretary in Labour and Skills Development, Shadrach Mwadime, is our guest this hour. And as we get into that, many things to be heard and understood, streamlining Kenya's labour migration policy. So when you work, you're going to need some kind of refreshment. You're going to need to be able to cool things down. Keringet, spring, fresh water, rich with the vitamins and minerals that you need. Coming from a spring of wealth and richness is Keringet's water that you can use to own your richness as well. Get a bottle of Keringet today, use it to refresh yourself, cool things down, and own your richness as you do. P.S. Mwadime, good morning.
Morning.
Karibu Sana.
Asante, thank you for having me.
You're in the hot seat of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning.
I can see.
We're glad to have you here. Well, before we heat things up, CT Muga has today's proverb that he's going to welcome you with, and also has a word about EcoBank, isn't it?
Yes, EcoBank actually is a Pan-African bank. This particular moment in time, and the proverb is actually sponsored by the same EcoBank. EcoBank is domiciled in 33 African countries. But in addition to that, it has affiliates in France, China, Dubai, and the UK. I think what makes it unique is that we hear of banks that are local banks, we hear of international banks, banks that come from other countries, other continents into Africa. Some of those few banks that actually emanate from this continent and is doing business in other parts of the globe. Now, our proverbs for this week come from the country of Zimbabwe, whose capital is Harare. Okay. Now, let me talk about the population. Zimbabwe has just around 18 million people. So Kenyans, take note, you are very many. You are very many and growing in numbers. Now for the proverb. God is good, but never dance with a lion.
Mweshimiwa, P.S.
Yes.
What do you think about that proverb?
God is good all the time, but don't dance with the lions. I think what that means is don't play around with danger. When you see it coming, you need to avoid it. But nevertheless, God remains omnipotent and good. He will be able to protect you, in situations that possibly you have not placed yourself in.
You put it very well.
Very well. Put yourself in situations that you cannot be sorted. Indeed.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so let's look into it. This morning, when we talk about the job situation in the country, unemployment is an issue for Kenya. It is one of the big agendas that everybody who came into the political sphere and asked to be in one position or another talked about, right? Soon after, we saw that the president went, and in the different deliberations that he had, talked about certain countries where now they would be welcoming of Kenyans in different positions, in different opportunities, different jobs. There was already the work that Kenyans had already started leaving the country to do, especially in the Middle East and in the Gulf. But now that net seems to have been cast wider, and other countries have come in, Germany, Canada, again, more countries in the Gulf. So starting to understand what forms or what informs this decision to then say, invite other countries into this net and let Kenyans be able to go out and do this work.
Okay, I need to quote statistics as it is first, and these are statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Every home is currently experiencing the unemployment challenge. Every home in this country. Now, one advantage that we have as a country, or Africa, the African continent in general, is that our population is young. And I'm saying it's an advantage, it's not a disadvantage. You know, our population is young. 65% of our population is comprised of those who are 35 years and below. Compare that to what is happening, the demographics that obtain in the Western European countries. They have an aging population. Their average age is 45 years. And therefore, they have realized that going forward, they will have challenges in terms of those who will be manning their industries, those who will be in charge of their hospitality industry and the other sectors of the economy. And therefore, job opportunities are opening up, not only in the Gulf region, but also the Western European countries. So now, first of all, we need to appreciate the fact that we have an unemployment challenge. We are not able to absorb all the graduates from our primary school, secondary school, tertiary institutions into our economy. Indeed, again, going back to statistics, out of 1 million young people who graduate every year in Kenya, our economy is only able to absorb 200,000, both the public and the private sector. The remaining 800,000, a big percentage of them end up in the informal, sector, the jua kali sector. Some of them establish their own enterprises. And indeed, some have not been doing very well. So this is what we are saying as government. Owing to the fact that we have opportunities opening up in the Western European countries, why don't we capitalize on them and have a number of our young people, undertake the employment opportunities that are available, undertake jobs, that are opening up. This is for the good of our economy in the long run. We have models that we can emulate. South Korea did so when they sent a number of their young people to Japan. As it is now, South Korea is a first world because there are many advantages that accrue to sending young people, to where opportunities are available for the local economy. Number one, the remittances. As it is currently in our country, diaspora remittances have exceeded the traditional cash crop in terms of foreign exchange earning, have exceeded the cash crops, that traditional cash crops we've been having, coffee and tea, even tourism. Last year, the statistics again that we have that were given by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics and also the Central Bank is that Kenya diaspora remittances came to about 663 billion shillings, about $4 billion US. That is an extremely high amount. You can imagine this money being pumped, injected into our economy. It will assist us expand our economy greatly. Our young people who are going to occupy these jobs are not moving there permanently. They are taking up short-term contracts, 3 years, 5 years. Then eventually they come back home. What is the advantage of that? Technological transfer. They will meet technology as it is currently, at the level where it is currently, and be able to come back home and with that kind of technology utilize our resources, and eventually our economy will expand.
So these jobs are available in these countries that have been mentioned, right? The Gulf states is almost a no-brainer now because that has been there for some time. Canada has been brought in. Germany has been brought in as well. In fact, you yesterday mentioned 250,000 jobs that are available coming out of Germany. But then you also went ahead to say that in as much as these jobs are available, Kenyans lack the skills for the foreign job market. Some, not all. Some Kenyans lack the skills. What informed that statement that you made yesterday?
The reason why I made that statement is basically because of the complaints that we've been receiving from the employers in Kenya and also some of the employers that we're getting in touch with abroad. And therefore, we want to ensure that gap that has been realized, can be reduced. And the only way we can do that is by conducting a survey to find out the expectations of employers in Kenya and the expectations of employers abroad, so that then we can be able to sit with our educational institutions and advise them in terms of the curriculum that they need to come up with, so that our young people are as employable as they can be.
So you're talking about retooling, essentially?
Yes.
But these jobs are available now. This is the thing. 250,000 jobs are not available in the future. 250,000 jobs are available in Germany for Kenyans today.
Yes.
But we're also saying at the same time that those who would essentially go up and take up those jobs, because the bulk of them are in manufacturing. But you're saying that some of the Kenyans who would essentially fill up those positions do not have the skills necessary to take up those positions.
Yes.
And we are saying that what we need to do is have tete-a-tete with the folks in the education sector for retooling. What does that mean?
Remember,
that these individuals would go back to school? Or are we saying in the future, any Kenyan that is churned out of the system will then have the skills required?
It's a long-term strategy that we are putting in place. We want to ensure there is a constant flow of labor to some of these international labor markets that are opening up to us. So there are Kenyans who have skills, who will be able to even, occupy these 250,000 jobs that have opened up. But going forward, to ensure that there is an easy flow of labor migration to these labor destination countries, we must retool our young people and give them the skills that will be required going forward to occupy these positions. So it's both short-term and long-term. Short-term in the sense that those young people who have skills can then be able to occupy these positions. Let me give you an example. The hospitality industry. Kenya is known to be very good when it comes to the hospitality industry. Our young people are serving in 5-star, 7-star hotels all over the world. And therefore, the excess that we have in the hospitality industry can be able to occupy the positions that are opening up as it is currently. ICT also, because we're in discussions with the government of Germany to open up opportunities for our young people in the ICT industry, in the economy. We have a number of them who are extremely good and can be able to occupy these positions. But in terms of the industries, for example, where there is a mismatch, we have to address it early enough so that there is an easy flow going forward. Remember, I have said we have a young population that is becoming constantly younger. As these young people get married, and have children, they mature, the labor market, will be open to them. And therefore, we have to ensure we prepare them for this market.
Bwana PS, let me just take you back a little bit. 250,000 jobs in Germany, others in Canada, and others in the Middle East, and what have you. As a Kenyan with a certificate, a degree, whatever it is, where do I apply for these jobs? 2, where do I find the specificity of what kind of job it is? And thirdly, in a country such as Germany, where there is A, a language barrier, and B, a traditional aversion to giving visas, especially work visas for people in this neck of the woods. How is the government streamlining that process that I, as a Kenyan who requires one of those 250,000 jobs, can easily go somewhere and access those jobs? At their agencies? Is it their website? What's the process?
This is a very critical question. The reason why the government is coming in, nearly full force with all the energy that it has is because we want to do it in a structured way, unlike what has been happening before. So we are negotiating with the German government to have a bilateral labor agreement, which will guarantee the amount of money, the salaries for Kenyan workers, which will guarantee their human rights, which will guarantee the environment that they are going to operate in, because it's government to government. That is number one. So we are doing it in a structured way. Now, a Kenyan who is interested, in getting these jobs in Germany, we have given a directive to our private recruitment agencies and the private recruitment agencies also that we are going to work with in Germany to be sending their job orders, to be uploading their job orders on our near-me system. This is the National Employment Authority Management Information System. They have to upload those job orders there. We are also encouraging Kenyans who are seeking for employment to create accounts with the near-miss, so that then we can be able to match the skills that they have with the job orders that will have been uploaded in the National Employment Authority website.
Okay, so basically this is an ongoing process.
Yes, it is.
It is not yet fully tooled, ready to work.
Well, it is ongoing. As of yesterday evening, we had 25,000 jobs that had been uploaded on the near-me system. So it is ongoing as it is. And we've gone all out to appraise Kenyans, those who are seeking for employment, by the way, both within and outside the country, to create accounts with the National Employment Authority Management Information System.
So on the near-miss system, are those jobs then ring-fenced for Kenyans, or are those jobs that are available to anybody who applies? Or because of the bilateral agreement, as it were, the jobs that will be on that site, if it is only Kenyans who can apply for them and get them, or are they open to everybody and it just so happens that they will be available on this portal for Kenyans to see?
These are jobs that are available to Kenyans. Remember, as you create an account with the near-me system, you have to also indicate your ID number. So they are ring-fenced for Kenyans as it is currently. Whether we are going to open it up, to the entire region, that is policy that we'll have to come up with going forward. But we are looking at our internal challenges as it is currently. So these are jobs available for Kenyans. The 250,000 that we're negotiating, with Germany is just a drop in the ocean in terms of, the employment opportunities available there. I had discussions with the German officials yesterday. We had a workshop to come up with a roadmap before signing the bilateral labor agreement. And the German ambassador to Kenya told us that there are 2 million jobs available in Germany. And he gave us an example, in the hospitality industry, where some of the restaurants are only open 3 days a week. Ideally, it should be 7 days, and possibly even more so during the weekend. But because of their aging population, they have realized that the economy is going to go down unless they open up opportunities to other people in the world to come and work in the economy.
So where would we log on to? For example, you talked about 25,000 jobs having been uploaded by, yesterday?
Yes.
Right? So if we were to log on, where would Kenyans then be able to go to and see that, now?
As I said, it's the National Employment Authority website.
Okay.
The National Employment Authority was established purposely to address the unemployment problem in our country. And therefore, they should be able to create accounts in the near-miss.
Okay.
Just a quick one. I am on the website. It's neaims.go.ke.
Right.
Here on the viewer dashboard, we can see the number of employers versus job seekers, 8,131 employers and 26,926 job seekers. How is that matching up?
Yeah, of course, there is a disparity as it is currently.
Yes.
But as we keep on knocking doors, as we keep on going to the Western European countries and Eastern European countries, by the way, we are talking of Russia, we are talking of Serbia, All these countries, as they open up opportunities, we will be uploading those opportunities in the system so that then Kenyans can be able to apply for those positions.
And when will they be able to start to do this?
Immediately.
Okay.
We are pursuing bilateral labor agreements with a number of countries. As I said, we have a roadmap with Germany. We are already having discussions with Israel. We are having discussions with Austria. We're having discussions with Canada. We have a bilateral labor agreement with Saudi Arabia. We have one with UAE. We have another one with Qatar. So we are pursuing these bilateral labor agreements on a daily basis. This is the policy that obtains in the Kenya Kwanza administration currently.
Okay.
Now, you did mention also the issue of languages, that languages are likely to be a hindrance. I don't believe so. Let me give you an example of the hospitality industry, particularly in Mombasa. You find most of those young people who work in the 7-star hotels, even some of them that you find along the beach, they speak foreign languages. You go to Watamu, for example, one part of the town speaks Italian. The other part of the town speaks English. And there are many also who speak German. So what I'm trying to say is we are gifted when it comes to languages. They only have to be certified. And even so, we are going to establish language schools so as to ensure they get the certificates required before they proceed abroad.
Okay. I'm on the website. And I guess because my next question was the caliber of work, essentially, that is being offered for these jobs that then appear on the site. And, yes, absolutely, the jobs are there. For example, the first one here at the very top is, and I can just see going down, is a company, housemaid. 1,000 of those are available, and the advert closes in 2025. But this makes up the majority of the jobs in terms of caliber and percentage. So what we see: construction laborers, housewives, housemaids. That could be a job. Domestic worker, skilled workers, but housemaid, cleaners, kitchen staff, registered nurse. I've seen one, drivers. So it looks like we are oscillating around this one skill set. Is that the case?
No.
Or will are there graduated jobs where now you're dealing with higher skill sets that will be available for Kenyans?
There are higher skill sets that will be available to Kenyans. Let me give you an example of Saudi Arabia. Much as it's known as a major labor market for domestic workers, we are now pursuing a bilateral labor agreement on skilled manpower. And Kenyans will be surprised. There are quite a number of their fellow citizens working in Saudi Arabia and actually undertaking very skilled work as it is there. For example, the financial institution. Currently, we have a cabinet secretary who worked in the financial institution in Saudi Arabia for more than 10 years before coming back to the country and pursuing politics and eventually being appointed as a cabinet secretary. So do we have Kenyans who are currently working in Saudi Arabia even without a bilateral labor agreement on skilled manpower? Yes. Kenyans have already gone ahead of government. It's just that we want to do it in a structured way as it is currently to guarantee them the right pay and to guarantee their human rights.
Okay.
In fact, consider the aviation industry. The Middle East, not just Saudi Arabia, is awash with Kenyans. Again, the hospitality industry that you mentioned, again, you will find very, very many Kenyans.
True.
But as we go into the break, there's something I want to mention why I'm giving that example. It reminds me of the Indian government when they invested in IT in the city of Bangalore. And they created the Silicon Valley. We had the investment in the hospitality industry through the Utali College. We have had an airline which has been robust and has created very many trained manpower. So when the country invests in that particular field, it makes it a lot easier for that manpower, that human resource, to be able to find employment elsewhere. That's the point I'm trying to make before we go to the break.
Streamlining Kenya's Labour Migration Policy. Shadrach Mwadime is the PS for Labour and Skills Development. We're having that conversation this morning. Let's take a break, take a look at weather and then the traffic, and come back and look at really, so then what does the streamlining entail? And what are some of the protections that are being put in place for Kenyans? Of course, to stay away from the horror stories that we've heard before. And then again, looking at skill sets. We will take a look at weather, traffic, and be back right after that.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge. Muga, not Muga.
He's here, and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman, another man marries trouble. Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It will die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same
Bukati,
IBC.
You can't.
I tell you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve. Of course, kina Edna, it's the, like you've said, the B's and the P's. Kila kitu mkisia kisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema hii anasema opposite.
Opposite.
Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day. The weather
18
with
degrees,
Spice
sunny
FM.
conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 25, and it's 19 and sunny in Nakuru. 16 and sunny in Nyeri, and sunny conditions at 16 in Eldoret. Mombasa this morning is sunny at 28, and Malindi at 29 is sunny. Kisumu sunny at 22, and sunny conditions at 20 in Kakamega. Cloudy conditions after the rain at 21 in Kampala, and it's cloudy at 28 in Dar es Salaam. 20 and mostly sunny in Johannesburg, and we're looking into a sunny Mogadishu at 28 and a sunny Addis Ababa at 18. 24 and hazy in Lagos, and 24 and light rain in Kinshasa.
Spice up your life.
It's busy on the Thika Superhighway still as you get to certain junctions. The GSU headquarters junction heading out into the city is pretty busy. We're also looking at heavy traffic coming off of Ngong Road this morning, and it's also busy on Langata Road. Langata Road going towards Aerodrome and then out towards Huru Highway. Raila Odinga Way is going to take off some of that for now, but then you have a hold up as you get towards the junction. And you're looking at Langata Road traffic, also busy. Magadi Road, busy as well, coming in from Greater Ngong Road out into the city. Those little hold ups here and there, likely to disappear in a short while, but for now you're going to have to contend with that. Heading in that direction, you might want to watch out for it on the Eastern Bypass. Outbound traffic is a thing as you get towards the Embakasi Junction. What to watch out for? Let's check back in a few minutes. SpiceFM KE on X.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Department of Labour and Skills Development, Shadrach Mwadime is our guest this hour, and looking at the hundreds of thousands of jobs promised for Kenyans around the world. Now, PS, what is it going to take properly to streamline this? And I'm asking this in relation to things that we have seen for a lot of Kenyan workers, especially in the Gulf and has been the bane of this story for the longest time. How can we be sure that they're entering into a database where they can be traced? How can we be sure that when they go there, they will not be mistreated? It's very important because, again, as we've seen on the portal, the majority of the jobs are in the same job space whereby these things have happened before. So, what streamlining mechanisms are being put in place to ensure that this new or developed or improved upon process is airtight?
First of all, let me correct the impression created that possibly it's only the domestic workers or unskilled workers that we're putting our focus on currently. It's going to change gradually with time.
Okay, but for now, that's what we see.
Yes, as of now. But it's going to change gradually. Now, there are many horror stories, it's true, that we have read on print media, we have seen on social media concerning what has happened to Kenyans, particularly in the Gulf countries. And I want to zero in, on Saudi Arabia, because United Arab Emirates, Qatar, we've not had any challenges. Oman, where we have some of our own working there. Omani Arabs speak Swahili, so it's easy to move to Omani and work there. This is unfortunate, but it's basically because of the challenges that we've been having, sometimes with rogue private recruitment agencies who recruit Kenyans to work in Saudi Arabia. There is no agreement, that a Kenyan signs. You find yourself there, and you end up in situations where you can easily be mistreated. Number two, you must realize that as it is currently, the government is pursuing a new BLA, a bilateral labor agreement with Saudi Arabia, which is purely human rights based. So that the Kenyan who is working in Saudi Arabia, his or her phone will not be confiscated. In terms of the rights that Kenyan needs to have, say, for example, to be free on Saturday or free on Sunday, to rejuvenate one's energy, that has to be guaranteed. And many other issues that have arisen in Saudi Arabia that need to be addressed within the framework of the bilateral labor agreement that we're going to sign with them soon. So how are we addressing the problem? Number one, owing to the fact that there are some Kenyans who ended up in the Saudi Arabia market without even an agreement, and they're having challenges there, we've established a toll-free number. The toll-free number is manned by the National Employment Authority 24/7, so that any Kenyan in distress out there can reach out to the government. And then we can be able to address the issue between government and government, our government and the Saudi government. We also have labor attaches in Saudi Arabia. We have one in Riyadh. We're going to establish another one in Neom, where a big city is being put up, and the other big cities also. We will send labor attaches whose sole responsibility will be to address any issue, any wanting issue arising, for a Kenyan working in Saudi Arabia. The toll-free number, if I can just read it out quickly, is 020-800-2222-223. You can as well call that number anywhere where you are in the world, so long as you're a Kenyan, and you can get the assistance that you need. Not only that, we are going to send lawyers also to study the legal framework that obtains in some of these countries. And we're emulating what other countries have done. Philippines has done that extremely well. You analyze the legal framework that obtains in the country of, destination, where we have these labor markets, so that you can use it also against the employers in case a Kenyan finds his rights being trampled upon. So we will be sending some lawyers there to study the legal framework that obtains. Not only that, we'll also come up with safe homes, safe houses, where a Kenyan in distress can be able to go there and, we can attend to their issues within that country. Of course, that is long term. I realize that, but it's in the offing. These are plans that the government has. Not only that, for those domestic workers who would wish to work in Saudi Arabia, we have insisted that they have to be trained first. In collaboration with the International Labour Organization, we are coming up with an Arab home. We'll establish one in one of our NITA campuses, National Industrial Training Authority campuses in Mombasa, so that one can be appraised concerning the culture that obtains in the country, of destination. You can be appraised concerning what the religion you will find there, which may be different from the religion that you have grown up with, and therefore the expectations of that religion, the culture, the norms, so that you are aware up front concerning that which you will encounter when you go there.
Bwana PS, I think the picture you're presenting before Kenyans is a picture almost like a preview of a movie coming soon to a job market near you. And it's an excellent picture. We have to ask ourselves a few questions, though. Because as you speak, I keep on thinking about this term we had many times when we were growing up, brain drain. Brain drain. Are we giving up our best brains to go out there? You also spoke about them coming back. What is the framework of coming back? Let me give you an example. If we do indeed get these nice technical jobs and you go become head of the battery division at Tesla and you come back, you'll come back to work where? What is being set up that is going to be commensurate to your job back home? And lastly, many of these diaspora investees back home have lost their money. They've sent money to buy land, it has disappeared. They've sent money to build houses, it has disappeared. How are we protecting against brain drain? How are we creating opportunities for them to come back? Because it will be very difficult for you to be a rocket scientist and come back where there are no rockets. And lastly, how are we ring-fencing their investments?
Okay, first of all, I want to assure Kenyans that what we are doing will not end up being to the disadvantage of our economy. We are not going to experience brain drain. It's a fallacy in actual sense. It's an assumption that Kenyans have that we have to do away with.
Of brain drain as an idea,
yes,
or
yes,
that
yes.
Kenya will suffer from brain drain?
Kenya as an economy will suffer from brain drain.
Okay.
I want to give an example of South Korea, just as a model that we can emulate. A number of young people in South Korea saw opportunities in Japan, and they moved to that economy to work there. They were able to get technology as it obtained then in Japan. Japan produces Toyota motor vehicles and others, Daihatsu, Nissan, and what have you. When they came back home, they were able to make use of that technology to industrialize. Do we have Hyundais as it is now? Do we have the Samsungs as it is now?
That story, let me just add a little bit. South Korea, in and of itself, and Samsung is a good company to give to benchmark on because it was invested in by the South Korean government. It was a strategy to build one local industry at the same time as these trainees, because that's what they were when they went to Japan, and some even went all the way to the United States, so that they could come back and find Samsung, find these other companies that are South Korean to work in.
You're cutting me short.
I just wanted to add that.
I totally agree with you.
He had not finished. Okay. He was probably heading in your direction.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes.
I was just using it as a model to show Kenyans that we will not experience brain drain as we go forward. We will not, As it is currently, and I did mention earlier on, the diaspora remittances have far exceeded the traditional cash crops that we've been getting foreign exchange from. The amount of money that Kenyans out there in the diasporas are remitting back to our economy is huge figures. And the figures are going to increase even as we deploy more of our young people out there. So the question is, what guarantee can we give them when they come back home, or even as they send back these remittances, they can be beneficial not only to them, but to our economy. Now, again, let me give you an example of athletes, because we are a superpower when it comes to athletics. You know, a few years back, a number of our young people were not able to manage the resources that they were getting out of their sweat as they would go out there and participate in international events. And we ended up having social problems. You know, they would kill each other. They would have many, many social problems. Kenya Investment Authority came in to link up with them, to partner with them, and to show them how they can invest wisely what they've been able to earn, because you cannot be an athlete for an indefinite period of time. By the time you turn 35 or possibly less than 40, you will retire. So then what guarantee can we give you to ensure that your investment is able to sustain you even in your old age? Kenya Investment Authority came in, worked very closely with the Kenya Athletics Association. And now we see major buildings coming up in big towns like Eldoret, you know, major investments that are taking place. Economies are expanding greatly. So using that same model, Kenyans who are working out there, we want to guarantee them, you know, even using Kenya Investment Authority and other policies that we're going to formulate, that when they come back, we want them to establish enterprises so that then they can be able to employ their younger brothers and sisters. So as I said, it's a long-term strategy. Go out there, earn as much as you can, come back home. And mind you, the resource base for this country is extremely high. If we can be able to get Kenyans themselves bringing in this foreign exchange, we'll not even need foreign, direct investment, direct injection of, money from others. We will get it from our own Kenyans who will come exploit the resources that we have for our own good. Mm. I've just come from the maritime sector, because I was transferred about 2 months ago. The resources that are available within the blue economy are immense. We have just scratched the surface. I'm talking of the pharmaceuticals. I'm talking of the minerals. I'm talking of the green energy, wind energy, solar energy, that we can be able to produce. So what I have in mind is these Kenyans going abroad, and instead of having other people coming to invest from other countries, we have our own Kenyans coming back home to invest.
And I think that's what then is required, is heavy infrastructure, whether it be social or otherwise, to guarantee that that happens. There are lots of people who ask this question. I think it's very important, in as much as these jobs that are being created, or that we are told are being created, are offering solutions for people now. What happens? Does that have any bearing on the unemployment issue in Kenya today? For folks who cannot leave the country, for folks who want to remain here and cannot get a job, does it solve, in your opinion, the unemployment problem that Kenya is facing today?
In the long run, yes. As I said, there's that Kenyan who is uncomfortable, who doesn't want to go abroad. We'll encourage him to do so, but if he's adamant and insists that he has to remain home, there's nothing that we can do. His elder brother, mind you, has gone abroad and is earning some good money. That is the person who will eventually invest money back in our economy, and as a result, be able to create employment for his younger brother. But even leaving it, out from that very traditional understanding of it, let's look at it from a macro perspective, from a macroeconomic perspective. The foreign exchange, that we are earning as an economy, we have debts that we have to clear. The reason why our country's economy is unable to expand sometimes is because a big percentage of our resources goes towards servicing some of these loans. With the foreign exchange that we will get, we'll be able to clear some of these debts very, very easily, and therefore allow a big percentage of the resources that will be, raising within to be injected in the economy in terms of infrastructure. Because as it is now, we can't put up roads until we clear some of these World Bank loans.
Allow me to repeat what you've said so that I can understand it. What we are saying now is that the opportunities that are being created for Kenyans to go and work abroad, doesn't matter what sector they're working in, is essentially for Kenya to then be able to tap into the investment money that they would now send back to the country to then sort out some of the obligations that Kenya has financially. Is that what we're saying?
What I'm trying to say is this. Loans that our country has procured cannot be serviced using Kenyan shillings. It is not possible. You have to service those loans using dollars.
So we are
foreign
depending
currency.
on the money that
We are not
Kenyans-
totally depending on it. I've given a micro understanding of it and a macro understanding of it. In the long run, because of the money that we'll be getting in foreign exchange, which has currently exceeded even what we earn from cash crops, traditional cash crops that we have, we will have a huge foreign exchange reserve that will enable us also to be able to service these loans.
Coming from these individuals who have gone into other countries to work.
No, we're not limiting it to them alone. I'm saying as a country, from a macro perspective, you're getting foreign exchange.
Yes, your point is actually well made. It does help because when you talk about trade and you talk about balance of trade and you talk about reserves, it has to do with foreign exchange coming in. That's the whole point. Now, whether it's people sending it in or whether we have sold something, the foreign exchange is coming in.
Right.
But there's a balance here, and India perhaps gives us the best example in that. Beyond being the one country in the world which has the largest diaspora remittances on the planet, $124 billion a year, because the government invested in training its citizenry.
Right.
Companies that ordinarily one would want to work with or in abroad would come and set up industries within India. Why? Because the cost of labor is cheaper. Our cost of labor is also cheaper here. So when you combine these two, government invests. That's why I gave the example of Utalii. The Swiss government helps us with that industry, but look at what it has done for us. Okay? You are then able to have personnel to work within your own industry and to even export some. Unfortunately, we have a terrible reputation when it comes to this. The German government had wanted to build us an entire technical university. Build! That's not in your ministry. But with our politics and the foolery and the XYZ that goes on within government, we lost that. People look at Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. They do not know that the Japanese government built that thing from the ground up. It was built for us. Now, look at what that university has done for people over the years. So, the government has its role to play in what you're saying because it's important. It has to be a multi-pronged approach towards this employment issue. But at the same time, the government must invest. There's no country that is developed, like you talk of Korea. Believe me, government investment. These countries that are now bringing in people, after World War II, Japan, Germany, this same IMF we're talking about, gave them money to rebuild. The government invested in these things and now they are where they are.
Absolutely.
So the government of Kenya has to play its role in investing so that those who don't want to leave can find employment. Those who go abroad and come back will find that the same industries that they worked in abroad, we have some nestled locally, so they can find jobs. But the beauty is the skills transfer that the country will have.
As we come to as we come to the top of the hour, Bona PS, what can be expected realistically over the next, over the next quarter, over the next 6 months for Kenyans then to be able to tap into?
Let me quickly just add to what Mr. Muga has said in terms of preparing our young people to establish the infrastructure that is required so that when they come back, it will be easier for them then to invest. I think the government is putting up the Konza City Technology City, as you are all aware, and it's geared towards that. But also as a ministry, we have decided at our own level, with the limited resources that we have, to train our young people on online jobs, and we are training them for free. We have collaborated with major corporations like Safaricom, and we're offering training for about 3 weeks. every other month. We've even placed an advert as it is on our website so that we can train them concerning how they can be able to get these online gigs, earn some money out of them as we're waiting for full employment. But in the long run, they'll be able to work in the Silicon Valley, and those are the places where it is possible. We are looking at, we've set the bar extremely high for ourselves. We are looking at the possibility of even 800 to 1 million jobs per year. The bar is high, which means we have to go out there knocking doors and very, very aggressively. Whether we'll be able to reach that figure or not, time will tell. But we are trying as much as we can to knock doors abroad, to sign bilateral labor agreements with the Western European countries, and hopefully we'll be able to get there.
Bonapia, thank you for being here this morning. I think it's one to follow and one to watch and see how then it will then open up for the development of the country, and then seeing what can happen in the future. Checks and balances, I think important for us to often check with you and see. We know what the website looks like, how many Kenyans go and come. Reporting also, I think from your end is also important, and it would be great to look forward to that. Thank you for being in the Situation Room this morning, managing the hot seat.
Yeah, it has been hot.
We're going to have you in the future to see how things are going with this and how infrastructure on this side also is being developed. Asante Sana for being here this morning.
Asante.
All right, what to do with that little bit of money that you actually do have is a conversation that we'll be having at 9 o'clock. Good morning. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is News. I'm Dennis Aseto. 540 cartons containing JSS books in Nyeri County that were recovered in a forest in Kaptagat County have finally been received in Nyeri County headquarters. Education Director in Nyeri County, Joshua Kaga, says the books will now be distributed to different schools in the county.
Leo nina furaha kubwa kuwajulisha kwamba zile vitabu zetu ambazo zilikuwa zimepotea na zikawa zimetupwa huko msituni huko Kaptagat tarehe 20 asubuhi siku ya Jumamosi tuliweza kuzipokea zote na zilikuwa carton 540 na leo tutazisambaza kwa walimu wetu wakuu.
Deputy Commissioner Florence Obunga has lauded the investigative agencies for a job well done that led to the recovery of the books.
On behalf of the County Commissioner, we are happy to report that we have been able to recover all the books that were reported abandoned at Kaptagat Forest. We have the report from the DCI, KEO South.
Development Group members in Malindi and Magarini constituencies in Kilifi County have been urged to pay loans that they had taken from Uwezo Fund. Juma Mtana, an officer from the fund, says that the number of groups that benefited from the fund is huge, but that they have not paid their dues.
Katika Malindi na Magarini kuna groups nyingi tumezipatia mkopo wa Uwezo Fund. Zingine zinalipa, lakini nyingi sana ziko na changamoto ya malipo. Sisi chetu ni kuhimiza vijana wa mama na walemavu wenye walifaidika na mkopo wa Uwezo Fund waweze kuwajibika, walipe ili ziweze kusaidia watu wengine. Manake Uwezo iko based on table banking. Watu wabwagiane, walipe, waombe, wenzao waombe ndio iweze kurevolve hiyo pesa katika sub-counties.
It says that majority of the groups have not implemented the projects they had intended to, with agriculture-aligned projects suffering the most.
Poor climate, kuna wengine huwa wanafanya miradi ya kilimo. Sasa weather ikigeuka ni kumaanisha miradi yao, huo mradi unaweza fail. Kuna pia mambo na siasa, wengine wakishapata hiyo pesa wanaweka siasa mbele, wanasema hiyo pesa hailipwi, ni ya serikali. Poor choice of businesses ya wake na mama na vijana, wanachukua pesa na mradi fulani, lakini after the moment wamepata ile pesa wanageuza, ama wanachukua pesa wanagawanyiana, alafu wakigawanya sasa become automatically defaulters, manake pesa umechukua ya mradi fulani lakini umeenda kutengeneza mradi ambao sio.
Over 15 families have been rendered homeless in Bongo area of Nyandarua following heavy rains. The heavy rains punctuated by equally heavy winds, uprooted at least 5 trees, which then fell on residential homes, destroying at least 15 houses, according to witnesses. The rains also wreaked havoc on crops, with the area MCO reporting that a cow was killed by a falling tree during the incident. Now, the government, through the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, has launched the National Skills Inventory following a directive issued by President William Ruto during a cabinet meeting on 15th of January. The employment data collection drive is geared towards mapping all available skills within the country to support the skills migration agenda. This comes a week after the launch of the Interdepartmental Committee on the National Inventory Skills, tasked with the establishment of a framework to portray the skills of all Kenyans seeking employment as a measure to address the present unemployment challenge. And retired Commissioner of Police Michael Mbugua and 2 others were charged with killing a farmhand whom they accused of stealing a wire mesh valued at 1,000 shillings. The 3, Michael Mbugua, Christopher Njao Mbugua and Charles Kinyanjui Mbugua, appeared before Justice Kanyi Kimondo, where they were charged with killing George Njui on 23rd of December last year at Riruta in Eldoret, Nairobi County. They all pleaded not guilty. And 3 suspects were arraigned at Milimani Law Courts for the publication of false information contrary to Section 23 of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. Arjun Chauhan Surya, Aftab Afzal Abbas and Ajmal Ameshi Karim were arrested while hiding in Mombasa, Kitengela and Nairobi after the offence was reported by the complainant at the Parklands Police Station in Nairobi, according to the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. They pleaded not guilty to the charge and were released on a bond of 200,000 shillings each and surety of a similar amount or a cash bail of 100,000 shillings and 2 contact persons. And finally, the High Court will, on the 18th of April, make a ruling on the application made by Italian claiming ownership of the contested Kirima land. The court will decide on whether it will issue temporary orders preserving the contentious Kirima land in Njiru pending the determination of the application. Meanwhile, the court issued directions in the matter and directed parties to file and serve their papers. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
Traffic on Vibes Radio.
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. You know, that's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
So who is a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Case of any accident. Okay, so what's happening with traffic this morning? We're looking at a little bit of that still building on the Thika Superhighway today. We won't see too much as you come off of that Pangani underpass. All right, it's also busy as you're coming off Langata Road. That hasn't let up just yet as you then connect with Raila Odinga Way. Right around that Embakasi area heading towards Outer Ring, that has leveled off, so we are fine. Traffic hour might end a little bit sooner than usual today. It's all a look and see kind of thing. Off Kiambu Road also starting to fizzle out as it is on Limuru Road. So, you know, little bits and bobs of traffic here and there. We'll keep an eye on things. Help us out on SpiceFM KE on X.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning in the Situation Room. Happy New Year. We say it all the time, isn't it? And Mark says, Happy New Year until it's June.
For as long as I've not seen you before June, it's Happy New Year.
Okay, so it's still the New Year.
Yes.
Okay, that's the kind of conversation we'll be having now in this hour. Because then, how do you plan? Since we're still in the New Year, then we still have some time to plan our money, Abby. Okay, well, let's see how that conversation goes this morning. And our guest for this hour is already seated, and it's financial planning for the new year. Linda Oyaya is the Business Development Manager, CIC Asset Management. Linda, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am fine. And how are you?
I'm well.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. You're in the hot seat. You're dressed for it. So,
thank you.
You came prepared. You're fine. So let's see how we can cool things off just a little bit, even as we get into that conversation. Keringet, you've heard of it, the water.
Yes.
I'm very happy because I came to learn that Keringet is just not a name that somebody conjured up. It actually means spring. Did you know that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Like in what language?
Now, see now why you allow me to shine.
It's the Kalenjin language.
Okay, yeah.
There actually is no such thing as a Kalenjin language, but let's call it the Kalenjin language.
Let's just go with it for now, okay?
Yes.
So it means spring. So you can imagine spring, a spring that comes from wealth. It comes from richness. Down under the rocks, there's a lot in terms of down from the earth, and we're able to pull out this fresh water that's then bottled at source. It's richness, it's health, it's wealth, it's coming from that. And we're saying with a glass, with a bottle of Keringet water, you own your richness. You own the richness that comes from the earth. You own the richness that comes from the vitamins and minerals that is in this water. Grab a bottle of Keringet today and enjoy that richness. You've never been to the Situation Room, but for everybody who comes, we welcome them with a proverb where CT makes his travels. And this time around, he's making his travels around the continent with EcoBank.
The Pan-African Bank. And we're in the country of Zimbabwe. A very interesting country with a very rich history. God is good, but never dance with a lion. That is the proverb.
Okay. How I translate it?
Yeah.
Please.
Just what does it
mean? Okay. I believe what you mean is that as much as God is there for us and to take care of us, we shouldn't test him and go into danger zone expecting him to save us.
And you said it so.
Thou shalt not test the Lord thy God.
Yes. Or thou shalt interpret Proverbs correctly.
I mean, 1,000 points to you. Do with them whatever you please.
They are redeemable.
Yes, use them as bonga. They are redeemable at Standard Group.
Situation Room.
Okay, so, I mean, as we're getting into this, usually it's... Okay, that's a lie. In December, it will be they are planning for the new year, right? No, you're not. You're using whatever it is that you have, enjoying the festivities.
Yes.
Then the reality of the day knocks you in the side of the head in January, and you're like, oh, wow, okay, so certain things need to be done, and they didn't quite do that. So, and that's why we premised it with, we're still saying Happy New Year. Oh, by the way, Happy New Year, Linda.
Oh, thank you. Happy New Year to you.
So, even as we get into that, and we're saying, okay, we can still plan, can we get into where we're planning our finances in the new year? And I guess starting it off, Linda, is it too late to think about what you would plan for this year, even as we get into this conversation? Is it too late?
It's never too late to start financial planning. Also, never consider January being the key of the start of financial planning.
Oh.
You could even start in November, you could start in September. The main issue in starting to financially plan is the starting point. Know where you're starting and why you're starting. That is the main important thing. So go ahead, start now, do your planning, you are way in order right now, regardless of your age, regardless of your status, regardless of your employment status, you're fine.
Why is financial planning important?
Why is it important?
Yes.
There's a study that came out recently, which was on the one of the local newspapers, that stated that Kenyans are amongst the poorest retirees globally, which means that we as Kenyans are not planning to retire. That's the first step. And that all comes into financial planning. Where have you been putting your money while employed? How are you going to survive upon not having a steady income upon retirement? So I believe that is the most important. One, it's retirement planning. Two, medical. We have a very big issue of medical planning, insurance per se in Kenya, whereby you find all Kenyans are one medical issue away from poverty. We have experienced this. We have gone through our many WhatsApp groups of coming in together to money to pay expenses, medical expenses. So that is another major issue why people should financially plan. And three, just to be comfortable, to be able to afford the good things in life, to be able to live not thinking about tomorrow, to be debt-free. Those are all reasons why someone should be able to financially plan.
I want to ask a question.
Yes, sir.
If we're talking about the employment sector in its totality,
yes,
where would you say the bulk of the people are employed in?
Bulk of the people would be employed in corporate.
No.
Really? It is.
Informal.
That is.
Yes.
Okay, informal sector.
And then next, government.
Government, yes, civil servants are very many
Yes,
in
the
Kenya,
sector
and
you
now the
speak of is
corporate.
third.
Yes.
So, let's start with something a little more formal like the government.
Yes.
So, who plans for the retirement of these people? You are working in a government, it has a structure.
Yes.
They come up with superannuated fund, they come up with God knows what fund.
Okay, let's go with that for today.
So
they come up with all these things.
SHIF.
Yes, then they even tell you they've got a retirement benefits authority.
Yes.
And if you work for the government before some of these changes were made, you're told the government has a pension scheme. You know, they deduct this and then they add you this. All these things, okay? And since it's deducted, the money is nestled somewhere.
Yes.
And all that is very good until you retire. Then you can't access your money. It's not that the money isn't there, you can't access it. And then over time, the amount may seem like it's reasonable, but over time and inflation, it's like someone didn't think of this, and it is happening. And it's the government who makes these policies. You suddenly find you've got some 3,000 shillings you're supposed to survive on. And any rural area, by and large, by definition, is a hardship area. And you've been working in town all your life, people expect that you have means. So all I'm saying is, when we talk of planning and that study you spoke of, did they take all these things into consideration?
Yes.
I didn't want to go into the informal sector because now that is a completely different discussion.
Yeah.
So here we are. I'm a government employee. I have retired.
Yes.
And if you look at me very carefully, I look like somebody who should have retired.
Yes.
Okay. Now what do I do when I can't access my money?
So the government retirement plan has been changing over the years. Previously, they used to have a scheme called a defined benefit scheme.
Yes.
Whereby upon retirement, you would be paid based on your position when you retired, how much you were earning. It would be determined by professionals called actuaries. So they would decide this person is going to be paid this much when they retire. However, over the years, the government has been trying to change this to move into defined contribution schemes, whereby even the civil servants are contributing towards their own retirement.
Yes.
That is how the public service superannuation scheme came about, whereby they want the civil servants to also contribute to their retirement. As they're saving for this, not only do they have the assurity that this money will be there, because remember before in the defined benefit scheme, it was money that will be created, will be provided when you retire. But when you're contributing, this money is placed with a fund manager. This fund manager invests the money and it exists. It's with a third party. So with that in mind, knowing that this money actually exists, it's even easier now for government employees, once they're contributing, to know that I have something when I retire. The previous one might have not really been helpful for them. I'm not very sure if at all they're benefiting from it or they're being paid, but I believe most government employees who retired way back are still on government pension and are paid monthly. But the new one, they will be paid.
You know, I'm really sitting here and I'm thinking of the average Kenyan listening to us.
Okay.
Whatever salary they make or profit they make over the last 1 year or two due to inflation and taxes, their income has reduced. In that income, they're supposed to somehow save, plan for retirement, and be able to meet their needs. So I'm asking myself, and I'll give you two scenarios. I'll give you the scenario of someone who earns 500,000, who lost around 40% of his money due to taxes. Central bank has increased the lending rate by 2%, so his car is now more expensive to pay back on, so is his mortgage. And then the other side, someone who's earning 30,000 shillings a month and can't make ends meet. How do you plan? You know, how do you plan?
It's hard going from a specific reliable income that you were used to going to less. It is definitely hard, and we're all going to experience this. However, that is when budgeting comes in. That's where goal setting comes in. I do not believe financial planning is based on your income. It's based on a decision that you make. You will find someone who's earning a salary of 10,000 Kenya shillings has saved more than someone earning 100,000 Kenya shillings.
True.
It's not about how much you're earning. Yes, I could be earning 100,000 today, and my net is probably 60,000, and then tomorrow is 50,000. I have no other decision but to plan around that. I don't have, what can I do with that? Look for extra sources of income. That is one option. I always tell people who are employed, and I hope no HRs are tuned in right now.
Well, sorry.
Announcement and some HR practitioners, please log off now.
That always look for an alternative source of income while you're still employed. Do not depend on one single income, and don't also take a big risk in that alternative source of income. So majorly, all you have to do is look for other ways of income to substitute probably that 10,000, that 20,000 that is now going into the health fund. Those are ways to look around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some things then that ought to be prioritized when it comes to financial planning?
Okay. The first one and foremost is budgeting. You need to have a budget. Without a budget, you're basically not directing your money to where to go. A budget tells you this one should go here, this one should go there. And also saving and investing. Those are two very critical things. You need to have an emergency fund. At whatever age you are in life, you need to have a minimum 3 to 6 month emergency fund.
3 to 6 months of what?
Your basic expenses, what you spend every month.
Okay.
Is it your basic needs? Is it your wants? Is it your leisure? Anything? Is it education? Is it medicine? Any medical covers? Anything you do in a month. You just see how much you spend in a month and make sure you've saved that. And this investment has to be very liquid. Something that you can easily get access to in case you are retrenched, in case you lose your job, in case something happens to you.
It's not money you've tied up in a fund, or that they'll tell you need something, how many days to get it out?
No, when you're investing, you need to be very clear on your goals. Am I looking for liquidity? Am I looking to lock my money? Maybe it's for future use. Maybe I want to pay my kids' education when they go to university. Am I looking for money that I'll want in 6 months? That determines where you invest your money. So most people, maybe emergency funds, they look into money market funds or unit trust funds, where, you know, if I put my money today, I can get it back when I request for it.
Okay, You've talked about savings. One thing that, a lot of people struggle with. So how then do you put savings away when you're barely making it? And it's not playing the victim. It's not saying, oh, please, woe unto me. It's that you're not able to make ends meet. And here is the clarion call to save. Save what?
So how I tackle savings is, savings should be part of your expenses. Do not save what is left, but spend after you've saved. So if at all I'm paying rent and I'm paying my usual subscriptions for every month, savings should be part of that. I know I'll send 2,000 to this investment. I know I'll save this much into my retirement scheme. Maybe I'm in a pension scheme. I know I'll do this. That should be part of your expenses that should not miss in your budget. It shouldn't be, I've spent my money in all this. I've been left with this amount. Now let me save that. No, that wouldn't work, because you'll never have anything left in that scenario.
What about the guys who over the last 1 year had that 3 to 6 months saved and it's all burnt up, and your little kibanda in town, you're shutting it down because taxes are a bit high? What do you do then? How do you pull yourself after?
Unfortunately, we have to appreciate that there are risks that come with any form of investment. There are risks and mistakes that come about with everything that you look at in any way. In that, we cannot predict your business failing. But you, as a business owner, you can see the potential risks that are coming through it. Maybe it's operational risks that you haven't looked at. Maybe you have people, there's fraud in your company, just mismanagement, anything. Those are things that will happen. Not everyone can be lucky. Not lucky, can be okay without with financial freedom. So in such a situation whereby I had saved for 6 months, within those 6 months, it was my honors to look for something to do. It was for me to wake up, get up, and look for a way to earn income, because I know I have this spread to support me only up to 6 months. So we shouldn't also be lazy.
Okay. It's an interesting pronunciation of lazy.
When it comes to that. Okay, so one area when we think about that is in investing, because that's the other thing that you spoke about, saving and then investing. Women specifically are not quite, there's men's clubs and they say we're going to invest here, buy this, buy that. Women have a lot more of the chamas, right? The groups. So how would you say that you can use that which you have, as women, to save or to invest rather?
Okay. I would put it this way. Men are more risk-taking than women. Men can sit down today over a glass of water and decide we are going to invest in this. And they'll all contribute their money by tomorrow and they do it. Women are very reserved when it comes to risk. We're looking at it from a reality. We're not looking at it what will it do for 2 months. We're looking at the 5 years, 10 years. I'm looking at how about my children? Will they be okay? What will happen to my family in case my spouse loses their job? We think way ahead rather than men. So for women, their best investments are always, you can always direct them to very safe investments. Things that they know my principal is guaranteed. Things that they know I have a return that will beat inflation. Those are the kind of setups for women. Men will go crazy on any investment that is out there that they see will give them a return without even analyzing. Sorry.
Don't make apologies.
And so what's the preferred route?
Yes. I think a mix of both is important.
Okay.
You need to take risk, of course, based on your age, but also you need to also be a bit conservative. You need to know at this point of my life how much percentage of my portfolio can be in risk and how much can be safe. But if you're not a risk taker, don't. Just be safe. Yeah, you don't have to do something because it's working for another person.
Tied to that is the conversation about whose money is whose. Because we talked about, you're in a family setting, maybe women are more concerned about, their children and this. Men will go on the fly and say, okay, well, this will give me returns real quick, let's go. Whose money is whose when you come together as a unit?
Well, I know the normal belief is the man's money is our money and my money is my money. But I have a different perspective when it comes to planning family money. What I've realized is just from the small statistic I've done with my clients and the likes, you'll realize that men are struggling in debt, whereas their spouses or their partners actually have savings. So the partner is the wife, so to speak, or the lady in the relationship. He's investing for longer term and not thinking about the immediate structure. And then you've been raised knowing that at the end of the day, your family is all about you as a woman. If anything fails, you are the one who's going to support. So you'll find men will be taking loans to cover things that some women can afford. I always say that women and men should spouses should make a budget together. Many people don't reveal what they earn to their spouses for their own reasons. But I believe you should at least let your spouse know what you can afford and what you can't. Don't take your kids to schools that you're struggling to pay school fees. Don't live in an estate where you're struggling to pay rent. Don't have a lifestyle or drive a car that you're struggling to pay for just because you have to maintain a standard for your spouse. These are conversations you should discuss. Tell your better half, I cannot afford this, let's downgrade a bit. So I believe it's a conversation that needs to be had. It's hard, but it's a conversation that needs to be had.
What makes it hard?
One, our African setup of how we were raised, that the provider is the man. So regardless of whether...
Has that changed?
Has that changed?
Has that changed? A lot has changed. But the problem is the man will still be providing regardless of the woman earning more than the man.
You know, you should seek a career in the diplomatic services.
So I do believe it has changed a lot. Yes, women are most women are doing better in relationships, especially when you look at the corporate setups.
When you say better in terms of providing,
no, earning.
So earning better than, in that sense, they're able to add to the kitty because conversations are had.
Yes.
So we're seeing an evolvement rather.
Yes.
Okay.
Of women earning more, but not really spending more.
I actually want to ask this question. Is it genetic? Is it something in your DNA that makes women more careful when it comes to issues of money? Or is it something you learn, or is something you're taught?
It depends, especially if for a woman who has kids, your first priority.
Let me go back to my question again. When it comes to kids, are women taught? Children play a role in how you end up thinking about money in the future.
Yes.
But are women taught? Or is it something you observe and you learn over time? Or is it something you're born with and you just have it? You know from the time you're 1 year old that you must join a chama. And
we observe. I think mostly it's observation. Especially when you talk about chamas. Growing up, most of our mothers were in chamas. Nowadays, actually, men are in chamas as well. And they don't like it being called chamas, but they are in chamas as well. And we grew up seeing them. We grew up seeing the merry-go-rounds, seeing them receiving money and all that. And also them planning even for the family. You'd find growing up, most of the fathers would leave the financial part to the mother, giving them the money to be able to plan for the family. So growing up seeing that, as most women have grown up knowing that this is how I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to take care of my family. I'm supposed to do this. So I believe, yes, it's something about observing and growing up in that situation that shows you this is how you're supposed to be.
Let's take a break on that point. Mark, hold your question.
Yes,
okay.
Held.
Like a chipmunk with nuts in his mouth. Hold the question. We'll come back. Let's take a look at weather, traffic, and then see what else is going on. And then we come back and continuing. Planning for the year financially. What are you going to do? How are you going to get through that? Linda Oyaya is our guest this hour, and we'll come back and continue after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin der, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather with SpiceFM.
19 degrees, sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 27 in Nakuru and highs of 27 as well in Nyeri. In Eldoret, sunny at 18, going to highs of 25. And looking into a sunny Mombasa at 30, it'll go to highs of 32, and we'll see highs of 32 in a sunny Malindi as well. It's sunny at 24 in Kisumu with highs of 29, and Kakamega will see highs of 30, currently sunny at 23. Looking out into Kampala, it's cloudy at 22 and 28 and heavy rain in Dar es Salaam this morning. And out in Johannesburg, 21 and mostly sunny. While Mogadishu at 30 already will go to highs of 32 and we'll see highs of 24 in a partly sunny Addis Ababa at 20. There's a haze over Lagos skies at 24 with highs of 34 and we'll see highs of 30 in a cloudy after the rain Kinshasa. It's bang on 0 in a mostly sunny Beijing. Tuesday afternoon we'll see highs of 2 and lows of -5 while Paris is cloudy at 10. London is cloudy at 9. It's 2 degrees and cloudy in New York. Still Monday night. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 3 and lows of 1.
Chilled Spice.
We're coming out of traffic hour in no time. Just a little bit of that left as you're getting towards this Pangani tunnel that is just giving people problems this morning. Still heavy traffic as you then get towards Murang'a Road or then towards Wangari Maathai. You'll be fine and traffic is flowing free and smoothly into the CBD. Uhuru Highway is taking over at your points there at Lusaka Road and then Bunyala Road and then towards Haile Selassie at the junction. There you have your busy spots. But apart from that, I think we'll be all right. Kangunda Road still has some traffic coming around to Mama Lucy Hospital. But apart from that, I think we're out of traffic hour, essentially, by the tick-tock of the clock. Let's see what happens through the day. Speak to us on SpiceFM, KE on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 26 minutes to 10 o'clock, and we're having this financial conversation this hour. Welcome to our audiences around the world on our streaming channels, as well as our audiences now. Welcome on KTN News. Okay, so we started a financial conversation, and Mark has a question.
Yes.
Yes.
The chipmunk mouth is open now.
There we go. True, Mark. True.
Yes. We've talked about savings and investments and budgeting. How much of your budget should be dedicated to leisure?
Okay.
Because it always seems such a serious conversation. Like, talk about the school fees, the loans, and the savings. Leisure, how much should we spend?
Oh, there's something called the 50-30-20 rule.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard about it, whereby they say that the 50 should go to your needs. And remember when we were younger, we were taught basic needs of what? Food, shelter and clothing. But that has increased nowadays. Now education is part of needs. Now, not internet yet. Now insurance is part of needs. So that is in the 50. The 30 should absolutely go to leisure, in my view. And by leisure, I just don't mean those are where the internets come in. That is where traveling comes in. That
Internet
is where
is leisure.
Yes, it is.
Wow. Some of us
That
can't
is
work
where
without the internet.
that is where traveling comes in. That is where doing your hair, buying clothes, all those nice things you want, that is where it comes in. And then now the 20 is supposed to be for savings and investments. So that is where that money should be. So now with the 30%, also consider you've gotten this new thing that we've gotten where you contribute to things. It's something to your friend, a funeral, or what. We always contribute to things. Also, that has been added into now that 50 that we put as needs.
Okay.
Yes. So the question here is, how as Kenyans are we trying to get rid of this conversation of always coming up with money to help people in need? So I believe that is a bigger conversation that we need to have.
Okay. And so then borrowing is thrown into this as well.
Yeah.
And there's always a conversation. So if you're borrowing from a financial institution, bank, whatever it may be, what should you borrow for? Because it's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
What should you borrow for?
You should borrow for something that will give you a return that is going to make sense based on what you're paying back for that loan. The unfortunate part of it is that we borrow for things like that are liabilities. I could borrow to buy a car, but it's my personal usage. That's a liability because I'm spending on this car, I'm servicing the loan. Unless the car makes sense based on what I do in terms of my job, it is helping with the convenience. Because also you cannot put a price on convenience.
You can. Just like you can put a price on peace of mind.
Yeah.
Yes. You actually can.
So I strongly believe that it is okay to own a car if it's a liability based on how it's servicing you. So if I take a loan to buy a car and I'm paying back this much, does it make sense considering if I was, let's say, if my job I was operating by Ubers or I was operating by public transport of any other kind? So also take a loan knowing it might not be immediate gratitude. I might take a loan for educational purposes. I might take a loan to educate myself further.
Mhm.
I might take a loan to buy a house. I might take a mortgage.
But there will be a return.
Sorry?
Do you count that as having some kind of return?
No, it doesn't have a return. But am I saving on rent? Am I covering this loan payment by how much I would have paid for rent if I hadn't taken this mortgage? That is how you would look at it.
On that mortgage, I've tried to do the math on rent versus mortgage, and it has never balanced out.
There are, unfortunately, or mortgage is not really set out. The interest rates in our country are very, very high.
Yes.
So it might not make. It depends on your reason why, but I don't think. Well,
that math. Any mortgage above 15% compared to equivalent in rent in over 25 years, you will save more money renting in this country than getting a mortgage. The only mortgage that can make sense is anything below 8 to 9% in this country, if you can get it.
Absolutely. I think a mortgage makes sense if you work for maybe an employer who's giving you a staff benefit that gives you a low rate. Other than that, let's stick to rent. Yeah.
Wow, you may be one of the first persons who said that.
No, but it's true. You do the mathematics, anything above 15% over 25 years being paid back, you will pay back 1.5 times the cost of the unit, and you will have saved more than twice the rate by simply paying rent and having the flexibility of not having your finances tied to a building that is not making you any money. You pay government rates on it, and if you default anytime within those 25 years,
you're in problems.
That banker who was smiling at you will hang you. That's the lion you should not be dancing with, in fact.
About Proverb 2.0. Okay, so I mean, there's something you mentioned earlier about women and how they are. What did you say? I think it was more careful, not as risk.
They are risk averse.
They're risk averse. So then, what would be some lessons that women need to learn then when it comes to finances? When it comes to investments, when it comes to savings, what are some lessons that they should be wary of, even when we say women are risk averse?
The one thing they need to be is insurance. I think it's very important for people to get insurance covers and also to understand what the purpose of insurance is. Most people take insurance as an investment, of which it's not. You should be able to have insurance and investments, both of them in your portfolio. The insurance cover is supposed to help you in a situation, to protect you, to get you back to where you were before the situation, not give you a benefit per se. So get insurance covers. Get covers for your children if you have any. Get funeral covers for your parents who are aging. Get such things to be able to support you in the future. Another thing I believe women should also do is get a bit more risky. You will find most chamas with women, the first thing they'll always do is let's buy land. Not that they've seen that it's performing well, or not that there's a history of it doing well. It's just that they feel like it's safe to know I have this piece of property here and it's mine. I want to see, I have a title deed, this shows me that it's mine. However, I believe investing in the financial sector is more lucrative right now in the current times that we are in, rather than holding something.
Okay. Now, think about somebody going into a business, because that's another thing that you've spoken about. You're starting a business alongside it's moonlighting, whatever it may be. And when you're talking about money that you're going to put in, financial capital, it's almost close to impossible to have a startup without that need for financial input. What would you advise? Because, you're not sure of what's going to happen, but you said if you're going to borrow on something that's going to give you returns.
Yes. So you'll find nowadays borrowing, it's not very easy if you don't have a pay slip. If you want to borrow from a financial services, let's say a bank, they normally tie most of the things to pay slips or an asset that you own. I would say if you're planning to start a business, if you're employed, start it then or save towards it then. You already know what you want to do, and this is your budget. Set a realistic goal that in 5 years I'm going to start this business fully and enter it fully. But for now, within year 1 to 5, what steps have I taken to make this business start? It can be a shell for now with someone running it as you're employed and gaining that money. You might use your employment then to take a loan to support this business that you're planning to do. Then once you're ready, leave your employment and go now run it fully. But do not step out today and go start running a business with your emergency fund. That most of the time doesn't work. We have example of retirees who leave employment, they're given their pension money, and they go do what others did because it worked for them. They'll go buy a matatu. They'll go buy a piece of land just like that, and then you don't have liquidity, you don't have income, you don't have anything because they've decided to venture into a business. Immediately you left employment without research, without having experienced it before. If you're employed and you get into a business, if you fail, you still have the backup of your salary to support you. Yeah.
You see, many countries who have developed, I like giving Japan as an example, because it's one of those few countries that has more money to invest and it actually knows what to do with. And I'm not being facetious, because they have a culture of saving.
Yeah.
Again, probably it's by example. Now, in a country like ours, given the way we are structured, and given our communities, at least some communities that I guess we are all similar. It's just more or less of the same. Has the insurance industry ever thought of introducing these wonderful things that they do, or the financial institutions? Have they ever thought of introducing these things into the school curriculum so that as somebody learns, they understand that these things are there? So the idea is in your mind from a very, very early age. So by the time you start earning money, you don't have to be in formal employment. You may have parents who give you pocket money. You may have money that someone gives you as a gift, so that you actually start thinking, because many parents who have the ability to and the means have understood the need for opening an account for their children. Okay. Now, what about children understanding how to invest that money and how to use it? See, if you start that habit when you're young, by the time you get into adolescence, you have a fairly clear idea of what to do with money.
Yes.
By the time you are probably in employment or you're earning more money, you will not be starting anything new.
Yeah.
For the bulk of us, you start this thing of money when you start earning a salary.
100%. So I totally agree with that the educational system needs to introduce ways in which kids can learn financial planning, even in high school, leave alone even just university, even as back as high school.
I was thinking primary.
Oh, yes. The idea for the new education system was actually supposed to be in line with that, and I hope it's something that will be picked. There's a tweet I read that said, I cannot file my returns, but I know all the parts of a flower. So when you look at it that way, you're like, at what point am I being taught? Us as CIC, we do educate educational institutions. We do offer training to institutions to talk to their kids about how they can plan financially. We've had collabos with a couple of schools here and there just to be able to advise the children. But in the long run, it's not sustainable to be doing it as a company. It needs to be introduced in the curriculum in school.
A quick one. You talked about retirement, and you said that Kenyans are the poorest retirees, apart from city. Anyway, tongue in cheek. So, how much is enough to retire on?
First of all, money will never be enough. Let's start there. Two, they normally say at least have 60% of your current income as your income when you retire.
60%.
60%. If I'm earning 100,000 as my total inflow net in a month, I should target having 60,000 as my inflow once I retire. Because we believe that after retirement, you'll be done with the major expenses such as school fees, maybe paying rent, things that you used to do and spend money on. They'll have reduced drastically then. So you should budget towards that. And remember, we are living longer nowadays. So you have longer years after retirement, almost similar to the number of years you worked for. So you need to budget for this. You need to budget of 40 years for working and 30 years of retirement, or even 20 years. So you need to plan for those 20 years, what am I going to do? So the reason why we were even ranked as the poorest is because most retirees are actually going back seeking jobs, even from their former employers, to seek jobs to be able to run. They are entering into, they're not relaxing, they're not resting, they're not retiring comfortably. They are working.
Okay.
So 60% is the answer.
Question: the United States has a similar problem. Many of the Uber drivers and people who are getting back into employment are retirees.
Yes.
And some have argued that for as long as you have strength and health, in fact, some have argued that you'd be actually healthier if you keep working. So instead of me saving 60%, why don't I change? I work for 50 years and retire for 10.
You see, if I want to work to be healthy, I'll walk around my farm. I will have passive income and go play a game of golf.
You have a farm. Yes. A country like the one he refers to,
yes,
the farm is that house.
Yes.
This concept of gishagi that we have in Kenya, they don't have.
Okay.
That alternative, because we think retirement, we think moving from an urban area
to a rural area.
For them, that doesn't exist.
Yes.
So how I'll differentiate that is me working for health is different to me working for income, for basic income. Yes, it's bad to sit around doing nothing, especially the older you are. However, if I'm working for my health, I don't think that is bad at all. The issue comes in when I have no other means of income apart from going back to work after retirement. That is where the issue comes in.
I want to take you to a completely different field of endeavor, academia. And I want you to look at the people who are considered to be serious resources. They are old. That same country that he mentions, retirees, you're a president, you're put on what you call the lecture circuit.
Yes.
People leave commercial industries, go into politics, go back into industry, enter the lecture circuit. Now, do you know what that then does? You then have a country or an economy that never loses its skilled manpower.
Yes.
It never loses the institutional memory of experience. It's always there and it's always being infused in some of the people who are younger. If you look at a country like Japan, 70-year-olds and they work.
Yeah.
I'm simply saying that there is a Western concept of retirement that worked when we were fewer.
Yeah.
Resources were plenty. Cost of living was dirt cheap. So that concept could work.
Yeah.
But in this modern day and age, take the demographics of even people who earned very good salaries, were able to buy their own houses in town, probably rent them out when they retire, and they go to the rural homes, and ask yourself how they are living. It is a very difficult life for most of those people. Extremely difficult. And these are not people who didn't plan. These are not people who didn't think ahead. They did all these things.
I think the bigger conversation there should be about the fact that, one, if these people don't retire, the younger people don't get jobs. That is also a factor to consider. And two, I might plan for retirement as myself, but if I don't educate the people around me to plan as well, my children. You know, majority of retirees are paying their grandchildren's school fees. This basically means that as Linda, as I was empowering myself with the tools and knowledge to save, I did not do that for my children. I did not manage to help them also accumulate something. When they got their first job, that I told them, put this aside. Let's save for the future. And by not doing that, now I'm left retired, but still paying school fees.
You introduced an interesting discussion. You see, that young people can't get jobs is not the fault of their parents. It's because you have an economy that hasn't grown.
Yes.
Because if the economy grows, it's able to cater for the large number of people that it produces every year. Because remember, these people, if they enter, whether it's the job market or they create their own jobs, they become taxpayers.
Yes.
So that country keeps getting money. Now, I'll give you an example of a different country. It's called Estonia. Their education system teaches you and insists that as part of your training, you have a business plan. Secondary school, I'm not talking university. By the time you finish, one of the things that is examined is whether that plan can actually be implemented and whether it can generate money. So by the time someone is leaving Form 4, they have an idea of the sort of business they can do.
Yeah.
University is the same thing. By the time someone graduates, they probably have a business they're going to run. So if you look at the demographics of Estonia, you are told they have more jobs than they have people.
Yeah.
But you see, it is in their education system. There are always jobs because almost everyone who goes through the education system thinks of how to create a job. We educate people to think of how to be employed.
Yeah.
PhDs look for employment. In this
Yes.
And they should.
Yeah. I'm saying PhD, master's, degree.
Yes.
Everyone looks for a job.
Yes.
Very few job makers.
And it is how we train our people. Because somebody has the education but doesn't have the skills.
Agreed, yeah.
Yes. Now, skills are something you imbue, something you teach. Now, we got rid of these apprenticeship systems
Yes.
where you're attached to someone, people who do things so that you actually acquire the skills. Now, employers insist they want skills. Where on earth is someone going to get those skills
Yes.
if they are never in the workplace?
Yeah.
Okay? So, again, we have a bloated workforce, potential workforce, who aren't contributing because there is no way for them to plug in.
Yes.
Now, that is what, in my mind, constitutes a total loss. All this money invested, and then you didn't plan and prepare for them. So, if you're talking about planning, let's start with the government. We have a government that actually doesn't plan. I know it sounds like it's being outlandish. It doesn't, because if it planned, this very thing we're talking about would guarantee the government is always making a lot of money from the taxes people pay, because they've invested in ensuring that people can do something that generates money and can grow the economy. Our economy is shrinking right now. It's not growing.
Well, what I've learned is you've got to be a chipmunk. You've got to have some nuts you save, some nuts you eat, and some nuts for leisure.
Yes.
Good.
Well done. The rodent had to come into play. So, look, even as we've talked about saving, talked about investments, mistakes that you make. Let's look at investment and just a little bit of that in terms of now what the ultimate plan should be. As you then answer that and talk to us about, so looking in, what should the plan be? What are some mistakes not to make or some risks not to take in investments?
Okay.
Even as you go into the plan for the year.
So I would put it this way first. When you're talking about mistakes and talking about risks, there are two very different ways to look at them. A mistake, when it comes to saving an investment, is based on something you did not do. And a risk is something you did, but you did not get what you were expecting. So for me, a common mistake will always be not budgeting and not planning for something. That is a common mistake we make. Another mistake we do is not thinking ahead about things like, I know I've said this a lot, but things like retirement planning or investments or emergency fund, because we live for tomorrow. We don't think about what will happen then. So that is a common mistake. Right now, if you work for an employer who's you're fortunate enough to be giving you a private retirement scheme, most staff, if they were told, do we take this away, you get that money in your salary, they'll say yes. Because to them it's more money, because they're not thinking long term. This money is for my future. This money is, I'm gaining some tax relief from it. My employer is paying for me as well once I pay this. So those are the mistakes people make. So I believe that is one thing. Not getting insurance, poor budgeting is always a big mistake. The risks that people make is not finding out what you're investing in before you invest in it. We have gone through a place where we do something because it worked for someone. Look at the quail farming. Look at the Uber business. Look at everything. Because I've seen it's working for him, it will definitely work for me. But I don't know what backup he has, how much he invested on, or what he knew. So we enter something because it's currently what everyone is doing. That's the major risk we take as Kenyans. If I see it's working for them, I'm going to take it. I'll open this business because it's working for this other person. That's one of the major risks. Another risk is not doing due diligence in your investment. Always read on any investment before you take. If it's stocks you want to buy, if it's an institution you want to invest in, if it's anything, do not take a risk without seeing how they are run, seeing who is their regulator, just by simply going to their website, seeing how it's run, see comments. on their pages or on anything.
Right.
Always make sure you go through that before investing.
Okay, so finally, as folks are, all getting to this year, it's clear just from the conversations we've had, the economy is biting. It's difficult.
Yeah.
There's not as much shilling as there was before.
Yeah.
And here we are saying you can plan. Can you plan properly with a little bit left? And how can you practically do that for the year?
So I would always tell someone, start from the basic minimum. Do not think ahead. Most people believe investing is for someone who has a lot of money. And no, it's not. Nowadays we have funds in Kenya that will help you invest for as little as you have. For example, we have a money market fund at CIC, whereby for a minimum of 5,000 shillings, you are able to open an account. You can top up with 1,000 shillings, and this money earns interest every single day. And it's very liquid. You can get it as and when you please, and your principal is guaranteed. You will never ever lose what you put in, plus the accumulated interest. So that's the first way to start. Start small. As your money accumulates and grows, now you can get into bigger investments, longer term investments. Find a way to trade in shares. Find a way to buy government bonds or treasury bills. Alternatively, the dollar is currently weakening. Convert some of your money into dollar. The shilling, sorry.
Is weakening, yes.
Sorry, the shilling is weakening.
This is good.
My bad. The Kenya shilling is weakening. So there's your chance to convert any money you have into dollars, invest it in a dollar money market fund. Let it earn interest as well as you're waiting, because we don't know where we'll end up by the end of the year. You do that, take that risk, invest that money, and you will make some money. So there's always somewhere to start. You don't have to think I need 100,000 to make an investment. No. For at least 5,000 shillings you can invest. And let that money work for you. Put money that you won't even think about. Let it just be earning interest for you. The day the need be, now go for it.
Great insights to start the year. Happy New Year. Linda Oyaya is the Business Development Manager at CIC Asset Fire Management, and we've been talking about financial planning for the new year. I think some things to go away with and also things to remember. Thank you very much for being in the hot seat today. Definitely a lot to learn. Asante Sana. Mark Pichachi, always a good sport.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for being here.
Highlight of my new year.
Highlights of your new year. Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Always great to have you for us to, bounce ideas off of each other and have that conversation. Always great to have you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here this morning. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for another 4 hours of Kenya's biggest conversation. Good morning, folks. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life